Yeah, so a lot has been happening. Namely, you guys have actually undertaken a bit of a split. The Fellowship is sundered, as it would seem. You guys are dealing with essentially after finding King Nine and after being enlisted by Basil Victorum. King Nine actually basically gave you guys in exchange for the help you rendered to Avelia and the favor that Basil Victorum, a fictitious detective, made real within the actuality. Because of the favor he called in, you guys are now basically undetectable for 2 months. So, where previously your steps were being dogged by a notorious actuality gangster by the name of Jaren the Devoured, you no longer can be detected. But this has come with its own kind of set of wrinkles. Maurice, you split off from Gavriel after realizing that your house had up and abandoned you. You are now staying in the Topiary District, where you are staying in the safe house of the Hendasa, which is the organization of which you are a part. You have also split yourself from Gavriel. Gavriel, you have found yourself exploring the Undersling to try and get more information about the people and the kind of like shady figures associated with Duran. And so you've been meeting with some success after going to the Bent House, which is a training and fighting gym within the Undersling, which is itself a very precariously kind of positioned district within Satyrine. Um, which leaves us with Twig and Kyrrie, who have been kind of tending to the research side of basically discovering a means by which you can kind of meet the favor that Basil Victorum has requested of you, basically allowing them to extract their people, their kind of fellow fictional creations, from a book with a bad ending that was never published and yet was used as the fodder for his creation, ostensibly by Maurice sometime in the past, because all of you are still kind of struggling with who you are, and Basil seems to hold a key as to who you were when you summoned him out of the book, uh, kind of dangling over your head a object of power or kind of living document known as the War Report. And it's in this kind of context that we start our scene. And I think just by virtue of the fact chronologically, we're probably going to want to start here. Maurice, what are you doing in the Topiary District right now?
So Maurice has just visited a tailor and come out with a new suit. And he is on his way to meet with the assistant to the Garrent of the Topiary, Joe. He's cast some magic on himself to take on the confidence and the attention to detail of Basil himself.
Yeah, and for our users, can you, or not our users, UX designer, can't help it. For our viewers, can you describe a little bit about this suit that you are wearing now?
Yeah, the suit is, imagine like a woven basket, just interlaced reeds, but in suit form. And it's very sharp. It's tailored exactly to his somewhat rotund proportions, and it has a flower in the lapel, a red flower. And what is not immediately obvious upon looking at the suit is that it has armor hidden inside of it that would basically function as like brass knuckles in a close quarters fight.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very elegantly made and very well designed, and it seems to be kind of woven very closely of these reeds. And so it's in this new finery that you are navigating the Topiary District. And for the Topiary District, let's actually. I'm going to describe it a little bit, but I'm going to probably segue to the map in just a bit. So you have been spending some time in the Topiary District, and one of the things that you know about the Garrent is essentially, and not just about the Garrent, but also from kind of your interactions with the tailor as well as previous interactions with residents, is that the Topiary District was formerly known as the Zephyr District, so named for a very, very well reputed and very kind of like scale restaurant that had these kind of very elaborate garden hedges that basically led to an outdoor courtyard and an outdoor serving area. And when the war hit, it decimated the Zephyr, but the hedges, having been touched by a little bit of the green, seemed to multiply and expand and take over the entire neighborhood. And so, with this, it's kind of in this kind of state. I'd say the time of day is about middle of the morning, probably closer to noon, and you are making your way towards what you know is the Garrent's office, which in this case is a small central building adjacent to what previously was the Zephyr. So there are these very kind of elaborate hedgerows that are being essentially maintained by thought form gardeners in very elaborate orange jumpsuits, themselves being kind of like gray and featureless, but all of them kind of carrying means of gardening and arboreal work. So things like spades and garden shears are fairly easy to see in their kind of person. So before we get started, let me go ahead and start our music. There we go. So it's kind of with this purpose that you're striding towards the Garrent's office. What are you thinking about? What are you doing?
At this point, Maurice is laser focused on how he can help Tristan and thinking of the questions he might ask, but also assaulted by all this information that since he had cast the spell on himself, the glint of the shears in the hands of the thought forms, he can actually see some inscription of the maker of these shears, and he's so overwhelmed by this assault of information that he has to keep kind of repeating to himself, Tristan, right?
Exactly. You are trying to keep on top of Tristan Farn's identity, your purpose, but at the same time, you are kind of, like you said, being bombarded by all this sensory information. You smell the sweet aroma of so many flowers, as well as kind of that same kind of workman smell of basically the dirt covering the coveralls of each of these thought forms. And not only that, but you can tell from the splashes of dirt and the patterns in the dirt exactly what they were doing minutes before you saw them. It's so much, it feels like you have to put on blinders. But it is with this purpose, this focus, that you are making your ways to the Garrent's office. And in short order, you find yourself in the front office. It's very well maintained. The hedges are being kind of maintained around the office by more thought form gardeners. You hear somebody barking orders at them, and you see what appears to be a woman in a red jumpsuit with short cropped hair, very short, petite, and just kind of ordering these about 6-foot-ish thought forms around, saying, well, no, you need to go over there. We're still seeing some overgrowth on this part down the street. And hey, number 4. And she will point at one thought form with kind of like mindlessly kind of carrying a set of shears like a golem. I need you to actually put some actual turf down for the area over there. It seems to have been overgrown by the weeds again. And so this person is kind of directing traffic of thought forms all around the garden. But just past her appears to be the entrance to the Garrent's office, which is this kind of very lovely appointed neoclassical style architectural building in a very classical sense, but at the same time it has running up one wall a set of vines that appears to be just slowly creeping, and you can tell that the vines are very much alive and trying to kind of push their way into the brickwork while thought forms work round the clock. What do you do?
Very interesting. Maurice is going to flash a big smile and a good morning and walk right past her into the front doors.
Yeah, she barely even kind of registers that you are there, and just kind of absentmindedly waves at you. And so ends up going kind of as you kind of enter this this archway. You see there's a bit of a bustle of activity. Again, more thought forms making their way in and out, but also people kind of, which you understand are people kind of lobbying the Garrent for work around the neighborhood. You can tell that there are some residents. There are a bunch of different people, but the thing that you kind of see is kind of this adaptation to the state of the green around them. Essentially people that are very kind of dressed in kind of casual fashion, as though at any point they're going to find themselves tripping into mud. Canvas is really clear, denim, that's kind of like, the way of things. And you see somebody step out from a long hallway on which there are several offices, again, very white, finely appointed. There's green wallpaper with white archways leading into these open rooms, no doors, save for one at the end of the hall, which on the front of it has a nameplate emblazoned Hylas Strom, Garrent. And the person that has stepped out into the hallway, you recognize from your neighbor, from interactions with your neighbor, as their form kind of fluctuates slightly. Now, normally not to be detected by the naked eye necessarily, but in your heightened state of awareness, you see that they are an Elderbrin. This person having the kind of makeup of what appears to be this kind of inky form that slightly shifts, and blazoned on the front of him is a really elaborate Rococo style embossed design of vines, and his head appears to be that of a lion. And you hear him say, so we'll be taking the next solicitor in just a moment. Please make yourselves comfortable. We have coffee down the hall. We are happy to help you in any way that we can. But one at a time, I must ask. And you get the sense from your awareness again that this is very clearly the assistant to the Garrent, which you know to be Joe. What do you do?
Does Maurice have an idea, does this place also function as a jail? Like, would I expect him to be here?
I think that, again, because you have that awareness, taking a look around, why don't you actually make me a perception roll? You are, again, making sure you can remember you can add your benes from your form shift, as it were.
Hell yeah. So let's spend one bene on this.
Okay.
Yeah, first roll.
And we're gonna say your challenge rating is about a 7.
So unfortunately, 5 on the die plus 1, it gets to 6.
I think again, you're taking a look and kind of like looking around, and you realize also that basically this is, for the most part, a government office. You know for a fact that Garrents can often act as de facto jailers, but this seems like a civic office to you. You wouldn't know right off the bat if there was somebody kept here.
Maurice is going to he's going to keep the door open slightly as Duncan was busy sniffing at some of the hedges outside and wasn't quite keeping pace, and let Duncan in, and will walk confidently towards the coffee, keeping a side eye on Joe, and filling a cup and maybe grabbing a newspaper that's around and kind of setting up like this is he's a frequent flyer in a hotel lobby like this. Of course one would wait here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you kind of sidle up to some of the other kind of residents, and they are all kind of patronize, like they're all kind of like patiently waiting, and you grab the cup and you're just like, ugh.
Definitely back to the wall. So he just has a survey of the entire place and takes it in, allowing, no longer fighting the information overload, allowing it to paint a picture for him.
Absolutely. And the picture that you get painted in front of you is one of just very kind of understated opulence. This seems to be, and you actually can tell from some of the walls and some of the paintings that are adorning them that these, and you take a look and they're very clearly basically paintings that have moved. You can actually see where there are some kind of seams that have been joined within the walls of which they're a part, and some of the painting is a little bit older or newer on the sides than the actual central murals. And you can tell that basically whoever this Garrent is, he probably moved older paintings from another facility and put them into this place, and basically you kind of figure that this is somebody who had a great deal of affection for the Zephyr, because the painting is one of people dining in this opulent kind of setting, surrounded by waiters of every stripe, eating what look to be decadent foods. It's very kind of like half pastoral, half impressionist in its design, and you can tell that this used to be a piece of the restaurant before it was hit by the or before it was ruined, essentially.
Yeah, so, and I guess Maurice, before getting comfortable, needs to, put his name on the list and get in the queue.
Absolutely. Do you kind of go forward? Do you look for a clipboard? I think.
Yeah, is Joe the one kind of waiting for people, or is he escorting people into the office and staying there?
He's kind of escorting people into the office. He's also pulling people forward. There seem to be only 2 or 3 residents at this point, kind of very patiently waiting, but at some point, probably a minute goes by while you're kind of wrapped with this attention, and it appears to be somebody, one of the people previously kind of walking in is making a delivery, and they kind of leave, at which point Joe kind of very graciously escorts them out. Thank you so much. Could I speak to whoever's next? What do you do?
Maurice looks around. I believe that would be me.
I think, why don't you... Yeah, okay. I think that, yeah, you do that, and you get up, and there's somebody that looks to be about to rise and say something. Do you do anything?
I'll make eye contact with them. Their move.
Make me an interaction roll. Difficulty 5. Let's see if you can intimidate this person out.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend 2 because I can. All right, here we go.
All right.
Fight's going down in City Hall.
Terrible. 2 on the die.
Okay, so at this point, you'll say, this person looks to you and says, hey, excuse me, I believe that I'm next here.
I'm so sorry. Sorry, I must have forgotten my place. Where could one sign up? I thought it was kind of first come, first serve.
At which point, behind him, or behind both of you, chimes Joe, who says, yes, that's the way of things. You should be speaking to me directly, and just checking in, and I bring you... Your turn will come, don't worry.
Of course. And walk up and offer a firm handshake.
He looks to you, takes it, and shakes your hand. Yes, you are?
Maurice. Would like to speak with the Garrent, or with anyone in a similar position like yourself.
And the gentleman who just kind of interrupted is like, at which point Joe says, what is this concerning? This would give me a better idea.
Taking a problem off their hands.
You are going to have to be more specific than that.
I can take Tristan Farn off your plate.
Really? The man behind you says, excuse me. And Joe kind of puts up a hand, kind of this clawed, inky hand, inherent to the Elderbrand, and says, bit of a Garrent priority, Mr. Allensin. We are going to revisit you in just a moment. I apologize. And he waves you forward.
Maurice looks at the guy and just shrugs a little bit and walks forward.
And the stink eye on this guy's face as you walk through the door into this small office, it could curdle milk. So, so you've kind of stepped into this office. And I think that we'll just go ahead and change the music here. You step into, again, this fairly finely appointed office. It is small. It is cozy in that there seem to be all of these kind of books, mostly municipal in nature, kind of pointing to the history of the district, or kind of folders filled with reports and other additional work that needs to be done around the city. There seems to be on Joe's desk a number of maps as well as papers kind of scattered, as though kind of going from one to the other and kind of having to keep track of everything. And you can tell that Joe is very kind of hard-pressed, very efficient and effective, but you just realize, taking a look at everything right off the bat, that there's just so much on his plate. And he says, yes, so are you looking for Tristan Farm?
I would like to speak to him, yes, but that's ultimately secondary to my goal.
And what is your primary objective, if you don't mind my asking?
To clear his name.
That's a tall order. It is largely considered an open and shut case.
So maybe I can make this easier for you.
Well, if that is the case, I would be more than happy to help you. However, finding Tristan is a bit of a challenge at this point.
I assumed he was in custody.
I am afraid that was true some time ago. It is no longer the case. I am trying to root out the source of the issue. We believe he is somewhere in Tallisbury Park, probably among the hedges. I would not be surprised if the hedges broke him out, but his escape is a bit of a mystery as of now.
So Maurice considers for a moment and says, I'm so sorry to have wasted your time. Clearly an innocent man wouldn't run.
Oh, clearly, absolutely. And as you're kind of like talking to him, your observation is again kicking in, and you can tell just kind of from this conversation that Joe is being very straightforward, very forthright, but he is growing a little bit suspicious. And as if kind of catching up to your observation, Joe looks at you and says, and what is your relationship to Mr. Farm, if you do not mind my asking?
Maurice pauses and says, I believe everybody has a shot. He's a friend of a friend, and I'm doing a favor. But I have no interest in the matter beyond seeing justice done, and if it's true that he is guilty, then we have nothing to discuss. I'm terribly sorry to have wasted your time, and if there's nothing more, then I'll leave you to your next duty.
and he kind of appraises you as you kind of make this observation. He says, well, I can tell you at the very least, if you are looking for him, I would look in and around Tallisbury Park. The woman outside may be able to help you. The one in the red jumper? Her name is Sarai Captain. She is manages the hedges here. If you can actually work with her, perhaps locate Tristan, there might be some bit of a reward in it for you. If you are really, of course, the benefactor you claim to be, you'll be... It would be very welcome. But now I must, if you don't mind, I must return to my business of state here. Hylas is very busy.
Have a good day.
And he bows to you and returns to his desk, kind of not looking up from his papers and as you expecting you to leave.
Yeah, Maurice gets the fuck out.
Point of order, Zach. Did you say the hedges broke him out?
That is the case. Yes.
That's what happened.
That is
making sure I wasn't crazy.
That is what, at the very least, Joe believes happened.
Completely normal thing to believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are kind of making your way out, and kind of with this knowledge, and are you kind of exiting, or are you doing some more investigation?
Exiting.
Okay. And again, you kind of like walked out, and it looks like that woman with the red jumper and the overalls is making to pack up her tools and leave. There's actually what seems to be a small cart being driven, filled with supplies by thought forms, and she's beginning to move to put her things in there and follow them on foot. What do you do?
Maurice kind of puts hands in his pockets very casually and strolls over and says, excuse me, I believe I was directed to you that you could help me. Sarai, is it?
Yeah, Sarai Captain. What can I help you with?
Pleasure to meet you. My name is Maurice. Joe said that you had some information about Tristan escaping into the hedges. I apparently have just been deputized.
Oh, really? You feel like lunch?
I'm sorry?
Do you feel like lunch? I'm about to take off for lunch.
I mean, assuming catching an escapee is something that can wait till after lunch, why not?
I just find I do my best thinking on a full stomach.
You'll have no arguments from me.
All right, Garvers it is. And she takes off her work gloves, throws them into the cart, and begins kind of walking one way down the street away from the Garrent's office. And we are going to cut there. I think, given kind of the chronology of things, let's actually follow up back with our two in the library. Twigg, Kyrrie, what are you guys up to?
Well, how much time has passed since the last time? Because last we spoke, or last we saw Kyrrie and Twigg, we were speaking, we were speaking about long form magic. And I think Twigg, we had established some chronology as to when you were coming to the conversation or how close you were to the conversation.
I think, there was a little bit of lurking, but generally a later arrival, and then shenanigans with Litteralum.
Yeah, and the shenanigans have been very interesting. You guys have found a mirrored sortier after you had a kind of very, let's say, fear-inspiring experience with the mirrored sortier, Kyrrie. You've had some flashes of kind of that experience, like researching the mirror virus, as it were. Meanwhile, Twigg, you have been researching. You have found a secret that allows you to use your blood as power, as kind of like the engine of some of your spells. And not only that, you found a couple of spells that would allow you to grant the semblance of life or to awaken an object. And you did so. Doing the first thing to do was to not only grant, you already had encountered this kind of sentient page golem that seemed to be made from the pages of books and literature. But what you realize is that you didn't have a personality or thoughts of its own. And so you granted it sapience with your spell. And it is kind of following you very kind of dearly, almost like a kind of like a baby duck made out of pages.
My heart. Yeah, I gave it my blood and ink from some of the books I've consumed, which for whatever reason apparently I store. And now I've got a little tiny baby duck golem. Oh my god.
Yeah, and actually it was right about probably contemporaneous in the story here, where you actually received this kind of bundle from materials from Basil Victorum, who basically put a bunch of literature out for you that he thought would be germane to the task of kind of bringing his people out of the book. So I would like a research roll. So I like
my favorite kind.
Yeah, absolutely. You are more than welcome to grant Kyrrie's sortilege if you want to assist her. Basically, this would be a knowledge roll for determining what you can find. I'm going to set the baseline at about a 6. And depending on what you roll, you might get something a little bit more than you thought.
And when it comes to assisting another player, so I can just jam some sortilege in there, or if I had a comorbid is not the word I'm looking for, but a comorbid skill,
Concomitant.
I think
concurrent, parallel, supporting. There's so many better words than what I said.
I mean, I understand the words, so it's my job to give you the word you need.
Yes. If I had, for instance, a knack for searching.
Indeed.
Would that allow me to assist? Would that allow Twig to assist Kyrrie?
I also have search, like a +1 in searching, I think, and magical lore.
I'm going to. I'm going to hard rule this. I'm going to say you can either conduct your own search, or you can contribute a sortilege to help somebody else.
I'm going to jam some sortilege in there, and I'm going to do it via Literalum.
Okay. Ooh. All right. Yeah, I'll give you plus. You know what? I think with the help of Literalum, I'm going to give 1 to your venture off the bat, and then you may spend 1 sortilege to get another addition to the venture, and then on top of that, you can spend your bene and roll as normal, Kyrrie.
Lovely. Quick question though: has Kyrrie seen Literalum up until this point, or is this the first time she's going to meet him that he's coming to help her?
I think that the last time you did see, I think you did you?
I think it was pre-sapience.
Because you were doing the lurking.
Yeah.
I was doing the lurking. Yeah. Twig, lurk. Surely not.
Clearly not.
Yeah, clearly not. Never.
So I would say you probably have not met Literalum a la Sapience.
Okay, but if I saw him, previously, I would assume I wouldn't have any evidence to say that he is sapient yet. Just that. So
Twig is going to be overall really unhelpful, but very emotionally supportive. Okay. So I'm going to so Twig takes off their jacket and they're just like, cool, I'm going to get in the water. That looked great. And just kind of lurking in the water nearby, like as if it was a hot tub, and just like being like, you guys are doing great. and like just being like, go on, Literalum. He like give him a little like boop on the back, like be like, yeah, do your thing. She's awesome.
Yeah, I'm the whole I'm helping, I'm by supervising type deal. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Kyrrie looks at Literalum and goes, I suppose this must be a vestige of the prior attempted organizational structure here. Yes, I guess. It's a strange creature.
Actually, you know what? Make me an interaction roll, Kyrrie.
All right,
If you
I'll
like.
do it.
I'll give you.
Yeah.
I'll give you a 5 or a 6. Actually,
Okay.
a 6 would be the difficulty here.
And that's an 8.
All right. So the best part about this is you realize right off the bat you put 2 and 2 together, which is you see the books flying overhead. You've already encountered and seen them making nests, and you put 2 together, and you realize that if they are behaving as birds and they are nesting as birds, then perhaps they are reproducing similar to birds, and Literalum represents a new life. Perhaps eventually they will grow, and it will grow into a book.
Oh, it's a little proto book. Amazing.
Yeah, so that's what you get with an 8. But that said, let's go back to your research.
Yeah. All right.
Literalum stands up on the table, is beginning to like analyze everything. Go ahead and give me a roll.
All right. So I can add my +1 searching as well.
Yep.
And then sortilege from Twig.
Yep, sortilege from Twig +1 for Literalum. So you start with 3 on your venture.
Perfect. And that's a 5 on the dice.
Awesome.
So 5 and 3 is 8.
Awesome. So with an 8, I will tell you exactly what you find. As soon as oh no. Let's see, open. That moves over here. Okay. So you actually discover a couple of things. There are several kind of long form rituals that Basil has laid out, but hidden under one, you find an interesting couple of stories, or kind of couple of spells and kind of secrets. First, actually, for an 8, take +1 to your hidden knowledge total as you kind of start with Literalum's help. You start noticing the way Literalum organizes things. It seems as though Literalum is reading things in a different direction and almost kind of like pictographically. It's really kind of like an interesting way of approaching the knowledge. And as you kind of do it, you see more knowledge kind of like hiding in sheafs underneath some of the rituals that Basil has pulled out.
Is
Kind of like when
Literal-
you, or just when kind of like when you lose your focus in a magic eye, and then you start to kind of see the picture because your focus is like different and directed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is
And-
Literalum reading metadata?
Yeah, essentially. He is basically he is child data. So in this case, you might have a more intimate connection with the knowledge. So in this case, you find 2 rituals that you think would be germane. Originally, you just see the one, which is called Beseech. It is basically a means for a practitioner of Visley magic to call upon a higher power that you name in the performance of a ritual. You offer them anything from gifts to promises to favors. They typically the practitioner will ask for a specific favor, and that favor can be anything, but in order for it to be successful, you need to make sure that it's within the power of the being that you summon. So also, if you gain the attention of the being, they will typically arrive as a disembodied spirit. And so they might like grant you clarification as to what you need to appease them before they manifest and basically grant your request. That said, you can kind of extrapolate with your 8 the means by which you kind of like the cost of doing this. So it's essentially, for kind of practical information, it is a level 5 spell. You need incense, vellum inscribed with as much history and detail as about the being involved, 3 leaves of gratitude, which basically you can have leaves of emotion. They're like equal to a certain amount of currency within Saturine. In this case, it would be about 75 orbs worth. And then finally, this ritual would take 4 hours of preparation and 1 hour of performance. So basically, you would compile everything, you would perform the rite, and then the being would manifest.
Interesting.
That said, there is one other ritual that you find, and that is called Summon Conceptual Spirit. And essentially, you take a look at this, this kind of like, you're looking through, and it is almost as though when you do the magic eye kind of look, it's almost like hidden within the knowledge. It's almost kind of popping out at you as kind of like, this is almost an alternative means to accomplish what you want. And the pictographics, as they come together, they form kind of a beneficent like smile, and you realize it's kind of like an inset image within the research. And then as you move the pages apart, you can then read the details of the ritual. In this case, you would perform much the same kind of ritual, but what you would be looking for is a spirit embodying a specific concept. It can be something like gratitude, laughter, life, betrayal, starvation. Any kind of concept that you can think of, you can use this spell to summon it. And so in this case, the spirit will typically want something in return that has to do with its concept. So like a spirit, and the description that the vellum describes is a laughter spirit asking you to compose for them a joke. That's interesting.
Okay. It's like a riddle almost. Like
yeah.
There's a price of using the magic.
Exactly. And not only that, you can tell that if you kind of fail to appease these creatures when you summon them, they can either take an interest in you or they can be annoyed by you. So it's kind of rolling dice. You kind of want to make sure that you get the right concept or the right spirit in the right mood. And for this case, it is a level 4 spell, and there is a cost of incense, an image relating to the concept involved. You would also, it inscribes for you a set of chants that basically kind of recommend a pattern by which you might entreat these figures. And then you want paint mixed with powdered diamond to create an elaborate and runed circle, which is described. That one will cost about 25 orbs, crystal orbs. And then there are 3 leaves of the concept of the spirit, or at least something in close proximity. Again, 75 crystal orbs. And then finally, 3 hours of preparation for all of this work with 1 hour performance. So it's pretty much similar, but you are being much more directed, and you think that this might actually be more helpful than trying to summon another spirit that you don't know much about. So finally, yeah, I think that is pretty much everything that you gather.
Okay. Just question, or point of order. This sounds very goetic, but it's a Vancian spell.
It is not necessarily a Vancian spell.
Okay.
It is goetic, but it is basically, because these are long form magics and rituals, it's going to be the approach of a different Vizsla than it would be for like a Vance. You wouldn't clothe yourself in the spell, you wouldn't be making a colloquy, but you would be relying on other members of your kind of circle, as it were, to basically cast the spell together and lend it power to basically overwhelm that natural barrier. Okay. So you have this information. I think probably it takes a couple of hours for you to kind of like get all of the pieces right of these vellum and these kind of like books. What do you guys do once you have that information?
Well, I think once a spell has been, or the research has been completed, or at least Kyrrie's been researching enough because she can kind of research forever and be happy. She kind of closes the books and looks over at Twig and shares the information with them in order to begin a discussion about what they should do with this information.
Cool.
And Twig definitely reciprocates, like they're very happy to be kind of bouncing these ideas back at Kyrrie, and I think it's kind of like there's a learning process and like a familiarization. So probably a lot of small questions and then flipping that back and sending it back to try to figure out the boundaries of these concepts.
Yeah, and it doesn't take, I mean, it's a lot of, like, you think kind of anticipate that it's going to be more work, and it's going to be harder for you to understand as an apostate, but the concepts begin to come to you naturally. In particular, like the conceptual spirit stuff, it really kind of strikes you, like almost like you're vaguely familiar with it. That being said, you're taking a look at a lot of these rituals, and you know for a fact that it would take typically anywhere from 4, 5, or 6 people to really kind of you can beseech someone by yourself, but if it's you versus an entity and it doesn't go well, it's always kind of helpful to have members of your circle with you. But at the same time, you think kind of optimally a lot of these rituals could be performed with somebody with 4, 5, 6 other people. So what are you, I think at this point kind of you hear a knock not far on a desk behind you, and you actually see Basil checking in. Are all things going well over here?
Yes, I think so. We may have encountered 2 rituals which would be helpful to serving your purpose. One which, and she describes the first as being the ritual beseech, and then the other which, instead of just summoning any spirit, would involve summoning a conceptual spirit specific to helping you extract your friends from the book. But we would have to choose our concept very, very carefully. I don't know, what are your immediate thoughts on that? Do you have a sense of what concept really dominates the narrative of this bad book gone awry?
And he pulls it out, and he pulls from his satchel that same book, the 1000 Grandiloquent Cases of Detective Basil Cotton, and is looking at it and looks at the components of the spell, and he holds it up and he says, I think this could be germane. I imagine it's authorial work, perhaps a concept of mystery, but I think that is too broad. I think perhaps something to do with the act of writing itself.
Interesting. Yeah, authorship. I wonder if there's a spirit of authorship.
Perhaps. I think it's a shame that your friend has left. I'm sure that he might have something to say on the matter.
I think Twigg has not really acknowledged Basil at this point, but has basically grabbed their t-shirt and just jammed it back on, and is also making sure that Fortinbras is within easy reach.
And at this point, you realize when Basil's eyes are trained on you, or is observing, and you can tell that he's pretending not to notice.
Good call, Dick.
Wow.
No love lost.
Says that Twig says that with their eyes.
Your eyes are very communicative. Yeah.
Just having a whole eye conversation on the side. Basil's very skilled.
Excellent.
Basil, I think one of the things that the ritual said, speaking of Maurice and Gav, and she says this a little bit more quietly, is that these rituals need to be completed by 4 to 6 people ideally. That even if it was you and Twig and myself, it wouldn't necessarily be enough to be safe to be summoning any spirit, let alone the spirit of authorship, if that indeed is the spirit we should select. She seems torn. Kyrrie looks around at the books and thinks briefly of her responsibility to them, but then, locks eyes with Twig and locks eyes with Basil again and says, I think we need to convey this message to the others somehow.
When
Go ahead.
When Kyrrie locks eyes with Twigs, you definitely see, or she definitely sees that they're there's clearly a lot of emotion at play here that is has not been expressed. I don't think Twigs felt comfortable enough to talk about it, or even really to process it themselves. But like, definitely, like, the absence of Gav and Maurice hurts.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I think that Basil looks at you, gives you kind of a serious thought. You can kind of read his face, at which point he says, well, I can assist in finding them if you require that, but do you have any other means of contacting your associates? I worry that going out and seeking them might take too much time. Although, and he pulls another, what looked to be a batch of component pouches from his satchel. He says, although there is a more expedient way.
Kyrrie looks thoughtful for a second, and then looks up at Basil and says, well, Maurice and I, we used to have this way of communicating. Sometimes when the day wasn't enough to study the things that we wanted to, and sleep would be elusive, instead we would decide to dream study together. And that just means that when we next sleep, we can read materials together in our dreams, and then when we wake up, it's as though we had spent all of that time sleeping, digesting the information instead.
Fascinating.
And she looks a little nostalgic, as though she's sort of thinking back on some of these times with Maurice that they had shared. But she doesn't really express any detail. She just looks very briefly up at both of them and says, I can't guarantee he'll come, but I can try.
Very well. Evening draws on apace, but there'll be some time before you wish to rest, or if you'd like to take a nap, we can try to contact Maurice or find him. Whatever you and your associate, and he pointedly kind of gestures towards Twig, would prefer.
Kyrrie looks at Twig.
Twig gives the finger. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And
subtly gives the finger.
all right. And with that, we are going to cut to Gavriel. And as we cut, we're going to need to change the music a bit. Okay. So, you are still, I'm presuming, in the undersling after leaving the bent house. The gym, the training gym for Visley within this kind of touched by the red, ruinous district that's constantly being rebuilt. What have you been up to? What's going on? What's you thinking about?
I think Gav is pretty focused on her mission right now. I know that she is going to be meeting an associate of Garrent's the next morning. It hasn't yet been the next day, which is when she's going to head over to the Cadaver to try to make contact and see if she can get some sort of either formal audience or force her way in. That remains to be seen. But she's going to try to set herself up. I don't think she's going to sleep per se, or at least like indoors. She might find a rooftop to camp out on. That's something she's pretty used to doing. It's not a big deal for her.
Okay. Well, I would like you to make a withstand roll. We're going to say...
That's fun. I haven't done one of those.
Yeah, we're going to say level... If you can get a 5,
okay.
you...
What would I put into that?
This would be physicality. So basically, this is to withstand the exhaustion as it kind of sets in for the night.
Cool. Yeah, I'll pop a Benny into that.
Cool.
It is exactly 4.
Excellent. Okay, so you have probably you've done this a number of times, kind of like the stakeout thing and kind of observation.
It's not comfortable, but I can do it.
Exactly. And yeah, so you've got your coffee from down the street ready.
Yep.
So are you kind of like positioning yourself on a roof adjacent to the cadavers? What are you doing?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think she's probably going to find a roof that is like directly in line of sight. Like she's probably like propped up like right over a ridge if like the street is amenable to such a thing. But yeah, she wants to keep like her eyes sort of there. She's not gonna stay up all night. Like she knows that Reedy is gonna be there tomorrow. This isn't like totally a stakeout. But she's gonna doze lightly, like kind of with one eye open.
Absolutely. Why don't you make me a perception roll as your
all kinds of checks.
Oh yeah. As the eyes of the angel begin to open inside of you.
Oh, shit. What is going to be the venture on that?
I'm going to say, let's start with a 5.
Okay.
And we'll see what you get. How'd you do?
Popping a bene into that, and it gets us again exactly a 4.
Okay. So there are a couple things you notice, which is that Cadavers is very kind of quiet in terms of foot traffic. There's not like a lot of in and out people, but the people that you see walking out, it's kind of like the Saturnine equivalent of a biker bar. Yeah, basically there are guys like walking in. They all like, some of them like are very kind of ostentatious in their musculature, and kind of like just or like wear bladed implements properly. But the one thing you do notice is as they go in, they take the blades off as if they're about to give them to someone or to kind of like place them someplace. You also see a couple of people doing the same thing with firearms.
Don't like that.
Yeah. And so basically you watch, and kind of like as you're kind of like keeping a lookout right around like in the early part of the evening, I'd say around 6 or 7, depending on when your watch started, you would see like one guy appears to open the kind of the Ben House for business, or not the Ben House, Cadavers for business. And I'm just gonna make sure I got him. Yeah, this fellow, as you're kind of like watching him, he is again muscled and but also doesn't seem to be speaking much, isn't flanked by anybody, but he takes a big key off of a big key ring and he turns it in the door in what looks to be like this blank brick wall, and there's a small hole that you can't really see from your distance, and you see him turn a key and the brick literally shutters up, and there is this glass front with spider webbing cracks throughout it and graffiti, and this is kind of an underneath that kind of like a ragged tattered awning made from looks like cotton or some other tattered cloth, is a sign that just very plainly in slab serif text says Cadavers, and adjacent to it is a stylistic representation of a coffin and a skeleton in death pose. So
I love everything about this bar.
And so
I want to go there in real life.
Oh yeah, if I can make it, I would. And
yes, please.
And at which point, depending on whether or not my mixer wants to perform,
hit me with some goth beats there, Zach.
you actually hear a familiar voice. What is your intention watching this place?
We finally have a point of contact, potentially with the only man that's in our file. I'd say that's worth checking out.
Most certainly. But it feels risky.
No, of course it's risky, but at least it's better than just staying stuck in a library.
Your friends, the ones you've split from? There's an absence here. Do you not?
I think Gav just sort of like kind of twitches her head just a bit at the mention of that.
Yeah, your feathers begin to kind of like, cockatoo up a little bit.
It is not weakness to admit when we need help. We, a host, recognize this thing. We are part of the legacy. We are better, stronger together.
We did admit that we needed help, and we're not getting it. Sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands.
And as you are, as if she's about to make a rejoinder, as she's about to do that, Athariel is interrupted, and your focus is interrupted by a flash of red in your peripheral vision. And as you your eyes follow it, the red appears to be basically kind of like at the tail end of shoulder length hair are little wisps of flame. And the person you're kind of observing is thin, youngish, about like late 20s, early 30s, dressed in a long kind of dark coat, but nonetheless still conspicuous from the hair. He appears to be flanked by two street toughs of kind of like larger proportions. And there's somebody following behind him. Now, depending on how far away you are, I need you to make one more perception roll.
Okay.
This one's going to be a challenge 8.
Pop a penny into that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. Nope. That's 5.
Yeah, I'd say on a mixed success with a 5, you do notice that the person that is trailing this figure, you don't get a clear image of this character's face, although the hair suggests you know who this is. But the person that's trailing behind has this kind of uneven kind of gait, and you're thinking, oh, well, maybe this person's hiding something. No, they just don't seem to have a lot of confidence. They seem to be kind of like following suit, but not necessarily a fighter. So you watch them go in. Again, you see them pull aside weapons, and as if to kind of drop them off. What do you do?
So, just point of order. There was a man with like flaming red hair, literally.
Yeah.
Being flanked by 2 bodyguards, and behind them was somebody trailing.
They're trailing close behind.
Okay.
As if they are meant to go there.
They're still part of the group.
They're still part of the group. And even when the person turns to kind of like say something over their shoulder, you don't get a good look at that face. Neither of them. Yeah, they're just
both of them. Okay, that's what I was curious about.
Yeah.
Sort of interrupting my own thoughts there. It's just like I think I would put up a hand and just be like, I think we found our mark a little bit early.
This is dangerous. What more can we do to prepare? What more can we... We can't go in there alone.
Well, I'm technically not alone.
And you feel kind of like that kind of angelic wash of power kind of as you prepare and gird for what's to come. What do you do next?
So, Gav being a mercenary by trade for as long as she's been here, I think she's going to play it kind of close to as if she heard that there was going to be a job. I'm going to give it about an hour to 2 hours to make this feel more natural and not like I was just trailing behind them or observing them at all before I scamper on down from the roof, the back way, not the front way that's facing Cadavers, so I can come around normally from the street and not get my pen ink all over my jeans. And walk up naturally as I can. Rifle is still slung over my back. And I'm going to approach the doors.
Okay. So you walk in, and as you're walking in, you hear the like fracturing of the glass of the front window as you're kind of like walking past it, and you realize it's like your reflexes kind of kick in, but you realize that it's actually just the natural process of ruin that is going through the undersling.
Nice.
What do you do with your rifle?
Was there the bouncer that's there that's taking stuff?
There doesn't seem to be a bouncer on the outside.
Interesting. Is there like a weapons depository? I've been watching people take off their weapons.
You'd have to walk in to find out.
Oh, well then yeah, by all means.
Yeah.
I'll walk in.
As you walk in, and again, you've got that very like clear biker bar like feeling off of it. Everything is kind of ruined. There are bottles on behind the back of this bar, which is just very clearly like a plain dive bar that's made of like rosewood that's just seen so much better days and is practically like half eaten.
It's like old country.
Yeah. To your right, you see what appears to be a dead, literally a member of the dead. Basically similar to Thomas Giltred, who was a coworker of Maurice's. It's a walking skeleton. There's still a little flesh in patches on the skin, but you realize that it's worse for wear. Probably just from being the bouncer in this bar, or not the bouncer, but kind of like the door person. And he's kind of decked out in the equivalent of like riding leathers. And he says, "Your piece, if you please."
I unhook it, unsling it, and white knuckle hand it over.
And this door person just like very kind of like quickly grabs the rifle and seems to put it into a bag. Like,
okay.
it almost kind of like it's this large bag, but it seems to be impossibly like long. It's about up to his waist. At which point he says, "Welcome to Cadavers. Help yourself." And that same muscled guy that opened the shop is tending bar, and he is serving drinks. There doesn't seem to be a lot of traffic there, and there is a bar back that is to the left of him, which is another kind of skeleton that is again kind of like cleaning and trying to like surreptitiously kind of keep the bar together, and like kind of like it's almost like has not just a bar rag but a hammer and nails. There's like a lot of noise. Even like the music in here is discordant. It is basically it's kind of like what am I thinking? It's like Ace of Spades with Lemmy, but it's like kind of just like as if the record's just scratching.
Woo.
And
You're telling me they really didn't go with Killed by Death?
Oh.
Hey.
Come on.
Hey, this is it's somebody's preference. Anyway,
I've been really getting into scratchcore lately.
Oh God.
yeah,
This is a very pleasant place to be.
and yeah,
Motorhead's alternate universe where they got into glitchcore instead of actual rock.
yeah, and as you like walk like into the bar and you're kind of like seeing this, you see the muscled bartender / proprietor look at you, like nod up at you and say, "What are you having?"
I'm gonna order a cheap ass drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's literally a drink on there that's just called Swill.
Awesome. Can I go one level just beyond that though? Just slightly up?
All right.
Not quite so.
Oh, we got a fancy one in here.
I did not say that in my character voice. Did you hear a character voice there?
I did not. That's fair. Walk it back.
Yeah, I think, I mean, she'll see what's on tap and just thick selection.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so he just kind of slides over a beer, doesn't even bother to put it into a glass.
And no one is sitting at the bar.
Nobody, there's a couple of people sitting at the bar. One guy seems to be just like muttering something to himself down at
Okay,
one
so
end.
it wouldn't look strange if I stayed to drink my drink at the bar.
Not at all.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's great.
but interspersed throughout there's like a pool table. There's very clearly a pool table. It's propped up by what appear to be books and moldering blocks of wood.
Amazing.
One of the legs has fallen off.
Any fighting pits?
Oh yeah. There is a mesh screen behind at the very end of the bar, and they seem to be leading further down, and that's where you can hear the bulk of the noise past the scratch core.
Awesome. Do I see Reedy and company here, or have they perhaps moved into said fighting arenas?
It's almost like the setup. Yeah, they seem to.
I swear, I was really just hoping there would be like a pit. That's all.
They do not.
NBG, Zach.
They do not seem to be in the front room.
All right. I'm going to assume that I can take my drink into the back room.
Absolutely, yeah. He doesn't move to stop you.
Awesome. I'm just going to keep, if no one's going to stop me, Gav's going to keep on walking.
All right. So
I'm liking, and I feel like Gav's confidence is like getting a little bit higher. Just like, oh, thank God. There's a place I can beat people up. I don't have to talk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you get into, like, you walk past, there's a little chain link door opening, and you can kind of walk through. There seems to be kind of like this crowd kind of stretching out of a hallway. And as you kind of wind past them, they're having these like discussions, like very kind of like menacing looking, and they all kind of like make eye contact with you, size you up, and then turn back to what they're discussing. And that is when you see, let me pull this up, this description real quick. Yeah, so you see that there is basically there are 3 pits. There seems to be 2 circular pits. There are 2 earthen pits on either side, and there's one central pit with wooden borders, but all of them are basically holes in the ground that span about, the main pit spans about 20 foot in diameter, and the adjoining pits are about 15 feet in diameter. And there are crowds encircled around each pit, one of which, like, the bulk of it is of course around the central pit, and there seem to be these smaller champions kind of fighting in each, and the central pit is currently empty, but it's almost like there's kind of like this trepidation and waiting for the central pit. And that is when you kind of like make across the way a flame-haired individual. Basically that same kind of red hair, you kind of like see it, and they appear to be essentially kind of, their head is down, they're discussing things with the 2 associates, and that's when you see like the younger, this like the follower is kind of just like, it's almost like kind of holding their hands, looking around nervously. What do you do?
Just to size up, I'm assuming this is Reedy based on the descriptions that I've been given of him. I don't want to necessarily eavesdrop, but I don't not want to eavesdrop either. I think Gav is gonna try to do a circuit. Gonna try to use an old little military technique there where she would walk around kind of the barracks so she could hear what the higher up officers might be planning for them, but without making it look obvious. That's what she's trying to do.
Okay.
This is how she would figure out like which assignments she could try to weasel into or out of. So at the same time, you know what, I'm going to save that secondary thing. I think I want to focus on what business the main mark is discussing.
Yeah, why don't you make me a movement roll?
Terrific.
Your challenge is going to be 6. I believe you already have a skill for moving stealthily.
I have a spell I can cast. It's Colliginous Raptor, but let me double check, shall I? No, I do not.
Okay. All right. So
No, I do not. Yeah.
Okay.
I have stuff for accuracy and perception that adds stuff to my pool as a passive thing.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and give me a stealth roll? Your challenge is going to be 6.
Okay.
You can either use Swordledge or use Benny, whatever you prefer.
I am going to just put in a Bene right now.
Okay.
I'm going to hold on to that sortilege.
Yeah, I'm going to say because it's also super crowded, I'm going to give you 1 to your venture as well. So
Okay.
you're going to need to hit a 4.
Awesome. That's a 7.
All right. So you, with a 9, you kind of like walk around, very kind of like doing this really kind of very inconspicuous circuit. And
Yeah.
as you are drawing close,
I slow down ever so slightly.
you recognize people. You recognize 2 people. It actually kind of depends. So you encountered the fellow that was about to cast the fireball. That was a colleague of Maurice's. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that person that you thought is Reedy, or that was described to you as Reedy, it's Marlon Acrony. And
Okay.
Is this that dick? Or is this the other guy?
it's the
It's
guy.
Going
that
back
dick.
so far in my notes. Hold on.
It's the guy you hit with a brick and then
Yep.
wiped his memory.
But he doesn't
we were
remember
sneaking
it.
around.
He doesn't remember getting hit in the face with a brick.
Yeah.
Because I took his memory of me hitting him in the face with a brick.
But here's the thing: you woke him up, and you escorted him on his way.
Jesus Christ.
And not only
No.
that, but let me ask you, Maurice, did anybody else meet Mac?
Mac. He was the one that I helped.
Right. Did anybody else meet Mac, or was it just you?
So, no, it was just no one else was with me entering the acclimation center, right? No, we were all there together.
Yeah, you were.
We
So,
split
yeah,
up though. Like you
Marlon-
kept us in one area.
Yeah,
and then
Marlon was pushing Mac out onto the street.
Yeah.
So you all at least
That's
saw
right.
Mac.
Yeah. Yeah, you recognize the guy that is basically the youngish guy that's like kind of not knowing what to do with his hands. You recognize that is the guy that Maurice helped and that Marlon pushed onto the street. And almost as if life is like repeating itself, you watch as Marlon exchanges some words, looks down at the pit in front of him, one of the side pits, and basically Mac turns his attention to that side pit, and then when he's not looking, Marlon pushes him into the pit.
You totally deserve to be bricked in the face. Called it.
No. Now I'm actually going to pull the secondary thing that I was going to have Gav sort of observe. The young, awkward one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think that Gav, having seen quite a bit of action in her time, knows that sometimes some enemies choose to look unassuming.
Mm-hmm.
Am I looking at a man who genuinely seems young, inexperienced, and nervous, or am I a very good actor?
Make an interaction roll.
Oh, I'm really good at that. No, oh dear. I'm gonna play straight. No Bene to this.
All right. Yeah, this is gonna be a 4.
5.
Okay. Yeah, no, this guy has no idea what he's doing.
Okay.
This guy is fresh off the boat back to Saturnine.
How?
Yeah.
I
So-
can't. I think Gav is struggling to fathom like what's the game here.
At which point, as you're kind of considering this, you hear the crowd begin chanting something. Erlosk, Erlosk, Erlosk. And there,
Gridnack.
yeah, there is a hulk of a man walking through the crowd from behind where you entered. And he has this kind of, again, like ragged tee. What was it? Which on the front of it just said, basically, I'm so much fun. And it seems to be handwritten, the fun part, and kind of like almost scratched in. And
Just gotta do some calisthenics here for a second. Gotta get warmed up.
And And that's when you see the shirt, and you kind of like basically take in everything else, which grafted onto his flesh are metal plates and metal bands, and his fists end in large spiked balls. And there are currently 2 people, not including Mac, in that side pit, and he is beginning to move towards the side pit. And it's there that we're going to take a break.
Is it bad that I'm thinking of the like Charizard fight from Detective Pikachu?
Can I get like some Dark Souls boss music for this?
I'm gonna try. I've got a couple.
Stay tuned.
We don't
for some
have the
Dark
rights.
Souls boss music.
So, guys, we're gonna be back in 5 or 10 minutes, and then we're gonna see just what the heck's gonna happen. Be right back. Hey, everybody! Welcome back to The Hole in the World, an actual play Monty Cook Games' Invisible Sun. We are just getting back from some really interesting things that have been happening in the Undersling, where Gavriel is about to watch a poor young man lose his life to a guy named Erlosk, and he's real friendly, y'all. So basically, just to kind of catch everybody up, we are rejoining our kind of split party narrative here. Everybody is kind of off doing their own things. We're finding out about rituals for basically kind of drawing people out of a book. We are inquiring into the whereabouts of a young fugitive named Tristan Farm in the Topiary District, and now we find ourselves finding out more about the hench people of Kyrrie the Devoured in the Undersling, a district neighborhood of Sarai, which has been touched by the red and is ruinous, but it is also the home of many of the city's most elite fighters. A place that Gavriel has no problem making her home, and we're about to see just how all that goes. But I think what we need is a bit of a music change, and we're going to call it, let's say, the Disciples of Steel.
Oh, that's so metal.
Yeah. It's
Riding into battle.
It's as metal as Creative Commons stuff gets, but let's rock. All right. So we're going to pick up where we left off. You just watched Mac, this young guy, get pushed into a fighting pit that's like adjacent to the main pit. And there is a hulk of a man walking past, metal plates, like basically, grafted onto this guy's body, gigantic spiked balls in the place of fists, and he looks as though he's about to leap into the pit. What are you doing? Also, this is too placid. We're gonna do Chant of the Nightblades. How about that? All right. What are you doing? There we go.
So, seeing this dude with, like, what color's the I'm So Much Fun shirt? I have to know.
It's black with white type, and
okay.
just just imagine if he dipped his spikes into white paint and was scrawling the fun part onto the shirt.
Very Borderlands, and I'm very much about it.
Exactly. I have the shiniest meat bicycle.
Everyone is super into it. What is Reedy doing right now? Is he sort of like, is he also into it, or just sort of watching and waiting?
The crowd is going nuts. And
including him.
Yeah. Well, Reedy is watching intently. He's actually looking at the other participants in the pit. And I think
so. This is not a 1-against-1 fight. Is this a?
There's a 3-against-1.
3 against 1.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Erlosk looks like a tough customer.
I think for a second, Gav will just sort of observe quietly.
Okay.
I think she wants to see what goes down. But just for a second, if it does, like, if the chanting ceases,
Okay.
she's gonna laugh
At
audibly at Erlosk.
Okay. At which point, yeah, I think the angels hear your intent, I should say. But we're gonna get to that in a moment.
My better angels have no say in this.
Erlosk jumps into the pit, and he's looking to the crowd, going, "Ah, ah, ah," and are you?
I need a clip of that without any context.
Wait, you're doing that? Oh yeah, you're doing that.
Oh, that's in character.
Yeah, and I think at some point somebody runs up to like tackle Erlosk, or to at least kind of like one of these three people. Definitely not Mac, but one of these guys. He looks like semi-burly. He's gonna run up and he's going to basically try to cold cock Erlosk. You start laughing. He backhands the guy. At which point you hear him say, "Excuse me, who's laughing at Erlosk?" And yeah, and like the one combatant that just got backhanded has kind of like started creeping away. "This is not comedy night at the Cadavers."
Could have fooled me.
And you hear like the cracking of joints.
I'm moving around through the crowd, by the way.
Wait, so yeah, he like is trying to follow whoever is doing that, and just you, where are you? You sit down here, you laugh in my face.
Don't you have enough competitors already? Why don't you finish what's already on your plate?
Meat for the grinder, gristle. And at which the other combatants are all kind of like getting their distance. Like Max got the clearest amount of distance between this guy and himself. He's like practically on the wall, and people are throwing bottles at Mac. Just like, "Go on and fight, get out there." And yeah, so also while you're clocking Marlon's kind of like looking all around for the source of the voice, and he's got this kind of curve of a smile on his face. "You sit down and you come and you fight. You sit down here."
As I'm walking, I'm gonna uncork my green potion and down it. This will give me 3 bene to my movement and another to my physicality.
I love it. All right. Super good. Okay. Yeah. Erlosk is losing his shit to the point where the other participants are getting more and more afraid of what he's going to do to you if you get in
They're
there.
not taking advantage of the fact that I'm distracting him, these morons. They deserve what happens next.
They just watch some guy get backhanded and like thrown across the pit. So
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be me in a minute, but hang on.
yeah. And at which point he says, what was it? He's looking into the crowd, and it says, "Cowards, all come fight Erlosk." At which point,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna like kind of put my hand like into the void in my chest and be like, "Hey, Jacob, do you want to play? I might need a little backup on this one."
At which point, let me double check if I got this guy loaded up. Yeah, let's say
serve and protect.
Yeah, so are you about to cast that spell?
You bet. So I will do this in one fluid motion here. I'm going to push 2 people that are closest to the pit out of the way and reveal myself. The hair is sticking like now fully up, and I'm just like rotating my neck and you're like, "Oh, well, if you insist."
Yeah, you begin to cast the spell that makes your features, more bird-like, more raptor-like, and more
I
predatory.
would hate to make this too easy for you. And I shoot up basically to like 7 feet tall now and turn into a were-raptor.
Fight.
So yeah, the crowd is going ape.
This isn't even my final form.
She's only using 70% of her power.
At which point, like, your, like, that void closes up in your chest as the feather armor begins kind of like draping your front. I pulled a card after you cast the spell. The card is the jackal, which is the nemesis of mysteries, rats, mirrors, and stone. Intimidation, power, ruthlessness, dark magic, necromancy. This intimidating fellow is a dread figure, to be certain. The jackal represents everything. Non's fear about Visley, threatening displays of destructive power, dark, soul-twisting spells, ruthless, unforgiving magic that taps into death, demons, and worse. Power for power's sake. He is a selfish, megalomaniacal figure, willing to do whatever it takes to get what he wants. The jackal is the nemesis of the Mysteries family. Many believe that he is a literal being and not just a symbol on a card. Some believe all the royalty cards show real, immortal beings. If he is real, he is some kind of diabolic figure that not only uses dark magic, but offers it to others willing to use his methods. This is very apropos.
Hey, what does it boost?
So normally a nemesis card would actually basically diminish your abilities. I am going to make an exception.
But it's not a nemesis for me.
It is not, but a nemesis on the entire board affects everybody.
Interesting.
So it means like it affects me because that's my stuff.
Okay.
but
yeah,
here-
I'm notions.
But here's the thing is normally you would get a -1 to all of your actions until you cast another spell or the current of magic changed. I am going to give you a point of joy as the...
Well, I'm asking because it was saying it was stuff about dark in the spell that I just cast. Guess what it uses?
Exactly. So you are going to get a point of joy. I am going to,
Woo!
as you give in to the darkness and it feels right, as though there's an extra entity, almost akin to the angels, but singular, a consciousness that you feel its clawed fingers on your shoulders, gripping tensely as it says, "Yes, go on." And you get a point of joy, which feels strange in the moment. And you see the other 3 combatants shrink noticeably as they watch you transform. And you see Erlosk, who still has about a foot on you. And Erlosk is looking. And you want to, like, you normally, if you had come out, I think there was a moment where he was unimpressed. And now there's exultation. Ah! At which point he whips out one of his hands and it turns into a gigantic morning star. A chain extends from the arm. You don't know where the chain is coming from because there's nothing but raw muscle and plates. So, first round, you're up.
Okay. Having observed just a minute ago that this man, as big as he is, seems to have some very quick reflexes. But I got another 3 to my accuracy pool doing that. Whee! I'm going to try to, think like a bird and race up to him and feint on his left side. Is it his left with the morning star?
It is his. It's gonna be his right with the morning
His right.
star.
Okay. Retract that. I'm feinting towards the right.
Yeah.
And at that last minute, I'm gonna do something called stepping off the line, which is gonna cause me to pivot. And with my new fancy raptor talons, I want to try to break the skin that I see closest to like his neck plates.
Okay, he's pretty big and slow. I need you to make but he seems tough. So I need you to make a level 6 attack roll.
Okay. What could I put anything into that?
You can put it. Yeah, absolutely. Remind me, what is your spell benefit? You've popped the potion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I add 3 to my accuracy. I make a melee attack that inflicts damage equal to the level of the spell, which is 3.
Okay. So add 3 to your venture to start.
Okay.
And then you can add Bene. So you just need to hit, if you are adding a Bene, you just need to hit 2 to hit him.
All right. How does a 9 do?
Oh, okay. We're going to call that one a crit. So not only do you find not only does your attack find purchase, you find a spot kind of like almost like under his arm where the chitinous plates, the armor plates end, and you rake up, and your attack is going to ignore his natural armor. So you have done 4 damage. Is that
3 damage?
3 damage?
3 damage is his spell. Yeah.
Okay. He takes a wound and just growls. At which point he whips the Morning Star. He takes a step back and tries to whip the Morning Star to knock you off of your feet. I need you to make a resist roll, or no, a dodge roll.
+1 to that. Oh, okay. Dodge roll, I don't have that.
Yeah,
but I'm assuming that's movement. I'm gonna put a Bene into that for sure.
Dodge roll, it's gonna be a 7. So roll a 6 or above. He's going to try to trip you.
I'm gonna roll it on the table. I'm not kidding. I swear to God, I'm not kidding. It is another 9.
What? Okay.
I did a separate dice this time. I could take a picture.
I'm gonna believe you.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge an earth.
I mean, if you're on your game, you're on your game.
Yeah, you hurdle it like it's a
The
track.
title of this episode is Gavriel Bullies Some More Pit Fighter, right?
Oh, absolutely. Of pits and pendulums, we'll see. I don't know. We'll figure it out. You not only do you dodge it, you hurdle it, and it actually gives you a step on your next attack. So I'm going to basically give you an extra point to your venture. So it's going to be your attacks. I think your next move is going to have 4 to start as opposed to just 3.
Okay.
So yeah, you hurdle it, and he's very surprised, and he immediately tries to retract it as though you kind of hear the workings of his arm. So what do you do next?
On the back heel, since I landed like that, can I see Marlin from my vantage point? Just out of sheer curiosity. I'm not going to do anything to him, but...
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Originally, Marlin was looking at the 3 combatants that weren't you, and now his focus is entirely on you.
I meet his gaze, kind of they have half of a knowing smirk, and then with that back heel, with you know, like a velociraptor has that claw.
Ooh.
I want to go right for the Achilles.
Absolutely. I want you to go ahead and make another attack roll. Starting with 4, again, you just need to hit a 6.
Okay, not a 9 this time, but a 7.
Okay, so on a 7, you do make purchase. It seems to be less effective with the armor, but you still do 2 damage, and he's looking pretty rough. He doesn't look like he's on his last legs, but it seems like you caught him by surprise, and he is.
You're right. You are fun.
And I would actually, I think he's most importantly, he is starting to bleed, and I need you to make a resistance roll or a withstand roll.
So not resistance, because I resistance or withstand.
This is not a magical effect. This is something that's inherent in you, so withstand. Okay. So let's say this one's going to be a target 5.
I want to do it straight.
Yeah, okay.
Had to happen sometime. So that was a crit fail.
Okay. Oh, wow. That was a 0?
Yup.
Okay. So
the universe must have balance.
You smell blood in the water.
Oh, no.
That same effect that you had, that same kind of like feeling you had that you were when you were fighting the highwaymen, it manifests and you just begin like losing your sense of tactics. So I am going to say that you have like you're going to be attacking recklessly.
Okay.
So rather than like cede control and take it, I'm going to say you have -1 to hit anything on your venture. So
I will take it.
but you are going to do +1 damage.
All right.
As
Okay.
your claws lengthen and your teeth begin kind of growing sharper. And yeah, so the first instinct you have is to launch yourself at this guy. But before you do that, the arm has retracted and he's going to bring the spike down on top of your head. Make me another dodge roll.
Okay.
This one again. Yep. What are you gonna ask?
Would the conditions of what's happening to me mean I can no longer add Bene into anything?
No, not necessarily. I think it's kind of like you're in the back seat, but you can offer directions.
Okay, so I can put a movement Bene into this.
Absolutely.
Okay, terrific. What was that again?
It's 7.
I'll take the hit. That was not a 7. That was a 2.
Okay. You can spend 1 physicality to negate a wound as this
interesting.
thing comes down and does 4 injuries to you.
I shall do that.
Okay. Yeah, so chalk
That
up.
will negate the green potion bonuses that I have.
Oh, no. It's you're taking injuries, so keep that in track with your wounds. So you already have...
Oh yeah, but I had an extra physicality from the potion. That's the Bene that I'm using for that.
Okay. So yeah, basically the ball comes down, it grazes you as you kind of sidestep out of the way instinctually, and now you're up again. Remember,
So I have one injury.
Yeah, you have 1 injury. I am going to go ahead and say
2 injuries actually, because I did not rest and I had an injury from yesterday.
Yep, 2 injuries. If you get another injury and you get a wound, you're gonna have a Vex in your pool. Or actually, no, it was a Scourge. Yeah, go ahead. So next thing I want you to do, go ahead and make your next attack or move. Again, you're
reckless.
Yep, you are at again 3 venture. So yeah, see if you can hit a 6.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a sortilege into this one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
6 exactly.
Excellent. Good choice. Yeah, so basically, again, the raking claws, your raking claws come down.
Oh, I think I bite.
Oh, yeah. Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah, so...
I'm gonna lean into it.
Yeah, add the damage. Add 1 more damage. So typically...
That would be 4.
4. He is looking rough because what you've done is you've kind of latched onto his trapezius. And you are beginning to rip into it.
Yeah, I've literally gone full Velociraptor, like a la Jurassic Park.
Yeah. What was it?
Ow! Comment. Ow!
Clever girl.
Yeah. At which point, you just hear Erlosk growling and like yelling, "Get off!" Ah! And he is going to try to take his action to like pull you off of him and slam you down. So again, I think this one you can't dodge it, but you can try to resist it.
I will resist.
Okay.
I have a +1 to my resists.
Awesome. So again, we're going to try to get a 6 on the die.
Okay.
And you can add a Bene if you need to.
For resist, what would be the Bene? Physicality?
Physicality, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I have enough.
Okay.
So physicality +1, so now it's a 4 that I'm trying to hit?
Yeah.
Math.
Yep.
Nope.
No.
That was a 3.
Yeah.
3!
Like it takes some time to pry you off, but he does, and he slams you down on the ground. So you are basically going to have to get up in order to attack him again. But the moment that happens, the other combatants, like 2 of them, come moving forward. Mac is trying to climb out of the pit at this point because he sees like how feral you are. And like at some point, somebody just puts their heel into his chest and he collapses. So the other 2 combatants are going to move forward. and they're kind of like looking confused at you as to whether or not they should attack you or Erlosk.
So confusing. I understand.
Yeah, so one is going to attack you, one is going to attack Erlosk. The one that attacks Erlosk, he manages to slice in with a dagger that glances off of the plates, at which point Erlosk, I think, it just kind of like wheels just angrily, but you can see that he's kind of like keeping an eye on you at the same time. The other one's going to attack at you. I need you to give me a level 4 dodge roll.
Oof. All right. Not going to put anything into that. I'm prone.
Okay.
Doesn't feel right.
Right.
Hey, 9. There it goes.
Yeah.
Back around again.
You roll and you like, I think with the 9, you roll so quickly that his knife, as he was kind of gonna bring it down, just gets lodged in the dirt, and he sees kind of like the look you give him and just jumps away. You're back up. What do you do?
All right. Let it not be said that I don't make stuff harder on myself. What do you think would happen here if I'm fully feral? Am I going to know to go after Erlosk and ignore the person that just tried to stab me? Or am I going to go for the person that stabbed me?
That's a real good question, isn't it? I'm going to pull a card.
Love it.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. Interesting. I love this, actually. This is perfect. You got the Angel, the defender of notions, cats, clocks, and wind.
That's me.
Yeah, exactly. You're a defender.
Dang.
All of you begin to feel like the control coming back.
I am going feral, though, like legitimately.
Yeah, but it's like at the same time you feel ethereal steering you at this point. Like not even so much as like trying to hold you back, but they're just like, I think she
Is just this one. Attack this one.
and she like sets you back on Erlosk. All right.
All right, then I will attack Erlosk. That's amazing. Why do these cards just... Ugh.
I love it.
Haunting Hook.
Yeah.
What's the number to 6?
Yeah, it's a 6 on Erlosk. You, with the Angel being your defender, you are going to negate the feral bonus that negative that you have.
And it is a 6.
All right. So again, you find Purchase, but at this point, you can tell that he's just getting completely exhausted. The cut that you've caused to bleed is beginning to wear on him, at which point you just find a soft part of his belly and slash again. At which
I realized I never found out if this was a fight to the death.
Yeah, at which point you see him take one knee, at which point you hear him say, "I yield! I yield!" And I need you to make another resistance roll.
Ugh. Nope, that's my sortilege dice. Don't roll that one. 2.
You go for his throat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think that it's at this point where you feel the warring sides inside of you, just at which point all of the other combatants panic and they are running away from the scene of you attacking Erlosk. Erlosk has basically is missing, is kind of like he's missing a piece of his trapezius, but the other thing is you just reach into his neck and begin trying to wring it, and that's when you hear the sound of a gunshot, clearly a shotgun or some high caliber weapon from the entrance of the arena, as you see the bartender carrying a loaded shotgun. And we're gonna cut there.
So plot twist, it turns out that you're the Charizard, not the Pikachu.
Who would have thought? You never think that you're going to be the Charizard.
Yeah, at which point
Woo! Now I got to go write all of the stuff that I just spent.
Maurice, you are having a tranquil, pleasant lunch under what appears to be a giant banyan tree. It is easily the size of a city block. And outside, on a sign, basically a large placard, is a sign that says, "Welcome to Garvers Cafe." And there is a menu with what appear to be a lot of very kind of wholesome, kind of homespun recipe type foods, very kind of much like comfort foods. And Sarai has basically kind of opened what looks to be an kind of like walked under a trellis, which appears to be under or between two massive roots of the banyan tree, and like just you immediately come under this canopy. And she says, "I can't wait. Absolutely love this place." And
Really, what do you recommend?
at which point she says, "Oh, just the granola, the oatmeal with the berries. It's wonderful. The honey comes straight from Garver herself." And yeah, as you are kind of walking through, you're walking under this trellis that's adorned with vines. And not only that, you see kind of spanning all of the different kind of perimeter of these roots are numbers of tables. And you are beginning to see branches moving in and around as though they are acting like de facto servers. You also see a number of Elderbrand working in one part, very carefully minding a fire that appears to be a large kind of like brick oven cooking fire. These Elderbrand are kind of clearly the servers of the restaurant, which is kind of odd to you because you've seen so many thought forms before. But Sarai is recommending the granola. You have sat down, and your order is taken by one of these Elderbrand. Again, this one, just its form is shimmering. Its face seems to be kind of like this almost like Rorschach test of inky flesh. But it's not really kind of like off-putting. It's meant to be, it's these very large curvilinear shapes, like almost these big gigantic kind of eyes, at which point like a pair of like very warm amber eyes look back at you suddenly from the face and say, "Hey, what can I get you?"
Maurice looks to Sarai and says, "How often do you usually take for lunch?"
She says, "Oh, typically about an hour. We're pretty flexible. The thought forms do most of the work, but occasionally, you know, they run into the wandering trees, and then we have to kind of extricate them."
I understand. So does that mean I can buy you a drink?
She says, "Oh, not only am I happy to let you buy me a drink, I very much welcome you buying my drinks. You can buy as many as you like, because I always need one." She just looks very like, this place is a lot of upkeep. Anyway.
So yeah, Maurice orders the oatmeal with the berries and asks for a wine list.
Yeah, and you take a look at the wine list. Nothing to really kind of like write home about. There's a nice kind of like Pinot Noir. There is one called is a Zinfandel that is called Touch of the Green.
Maurice looks for anything local.
Yeah, there is actually a Garver's ale, but there's also a number of Garver's grapes, which is kind
of. So Maurice is going to do, I guess, an interaction roll to see if Sarai is more of a wine or ale.
Absolutely.
Person.
Yeah. So give me an interaction roll. I think this one's just a 4.
6.
Okay. So yeah, she's clearly a beer person. She probably, you think, just kind of observing, you imagine kind of like just like a nice IPA or a Pilsner. And there's a number of local beers that are actually unique to Garver's because they seem to be grown by her herself.
So he kind of closes the wine list loudly.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "You know what? Just 2 Garver's ales, please."
Absolutely. And at which point, yeah, the Elderbrand, absolutely, whatever you like. We'll be right back. And they leave, and leaving the two of you, and just said, "So, remind me, did you tell her about Tristan? Or did you ask her about?"
Yes, I said that I had been deputized to find him.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me how you know about Tristan.
I was looking to clear his name for a friend, but it's looking more and more difficult every day, and I might have just been hired to catch him for the Garrent.
Well, your timing is impeccable. They're about to hire a zealot. So you know from your time in Saturnine, the zealot is somebody. Basically, there are several kinds of magic users that are not necessarily Vizsla. There are nons that have no access to magic. They're exceedingly rare. But there's also zealots who have magic-like abilities that they specialize in. And basically, at which point she says, yeah, apparently this guy has a 100% track record finding people.
Well, sounds expensive. I guess whatever reward I was going to be offered will be a tenth of that.
Well, you know, work is work. You do what get paid what you earn. That's my sentiment, all right?
I agree. Sounds good.
And don't let Joe muscle you. Hylas is very generous. Hylas is, well, to be honest, he's a bit of a soft touch.
How long have you known him?
Oh, God, going on just before the war, I think. It's hard to remember time. It's
Of course.
weird. But yeah, no, he's always been a friend of mine. He's always been very gracious. Always liked having him as the Garrent. He seemed to really care about the Zephyr back when it was around.
Clearly, I mean, so close to the Zephyr itself.
Yeah, she kind of like looks at you and just says, yeah, it's a shame. There's so much going on. There's, you know, I heard that the Opera House is having a problems. It's hard enough to try to reclaim the rest of the district from the hedges, and just to know that, like, this place, Garvers, I'm grateful for it, but you know, it wasn't here. And at which point you hear kind of a voice just kind of overarching as if from the branches of the canopy above you. I heard that. At which point Sarai looks up and says, "Love you, Garver. Nothing personal."
Maurice looks up.
In the branches, at the central trunk of this banyan tree, you see a amiable face, very congenial, looking down at you, the two of you. She seems to be kind of like stuck in place, but you very clearly understand, like, with your awareness, that this is Garver. Garver is the actual tree and structure of the entire cafe. And she is also all of the servers. As she is taking the dishes down, the Elderbrin are plating them, and she is swaying to bring them to the table. If you were to think about what this person, like what their face claim might be, it would be Rena Owen from They Were Once Warriors. She's basically just like very broad, open features, smiling, very kind of pretty in just kind of a very congenial way, very smiling and open-faced. And yeah, her attention turns back to the rest of the restaurant. And she says, "Oh yeah, well, it's nice here." And
It really is. I'm usually in Fartown. Never come here. I mean, of course, what you say about the hedges, there's some maintenance to be done, but I don't understand why more people don't come here.
well, I think that it's hard. Some people just don't want to leave their district. Nobody wants to really take a chance with the ruined expanse. And I think that, you know, I worry that sometimes it's trying to, between like the house cancer and the architectural virus work that's kind of cropping up, I worry that maybe we're about to lose the district to some of the ruin. Maybe people can feel it.
There would be a true shame.
Here. And at which point the Elderbrin drops your beers off at the table. And have you decided what you like? And she says, "I'll have the granola and honey. And for my friend?"
Maurice orders the oatmeal with berries, and then looks for something that like would be new growth, like something aggressive, like a fly trap or a fast growth vine that's on the menu.
Yeah, I think that you take a look at that, and there just seems to be, yeah, like there's. So interesting thing is, you can also special order meat that is grown on a vine.
That's absolutely what's a little appetizer kebab skewers for the table.
There is a wing vine, and it is hickory smoked wing vine.
Amazing.
At which point the Elderbrand takes your order. Oh, very well.
What?
Guys,
I have questions.
Why are you like this? Why, Monty Cook? That's a question for Monty Cook. Why are you like?
This is really more of a question for Zach. Why are you like this, Zach?
So Maurice holds up his glass. Cheers.
Cheers. And she drinks to your health. At which point she says, "So how'd you hear about Tristan again? What makes you take an interest in all of this? I mean, if you really are just a concerned citizen, bystander."
I mean, I am that, but I'm also a good friend, and this is just me fulfilling a favor.
I'd like you to make an interaction roll. Again, your target is going to be a 5.
I'm gonna spend 2.
Okay.
Which is good because I rolled a 3.
Excellent. Yeah, she kind of like appraises you for a moment, and then Sarai looks at you and says, "So, Tristan is a friend of mine. He actually used to work here, and he really wanted to work with me. We only just now got the resources to pay for another gardener, and hopefully with more work by someone who's not a thought form, we can actually really achieve a lot of reclamation, maybe even work on taking back some of those parts of the expanse. But that's when things went haywire. I didn't think he would ever be capable of murder."
Who died?
A friend of his, actually. It was awful. Ella Ganadel and her sister Choa were good friends with Tristan, and I always thought Tristan was sweet on Choa, and then how weak of a stomach do you have?
I can manage. And he sips some beer.
He stabbed her in the middle of the town, in the middle of the district, not far from here.
He stabbed Ella.
He stabbed Choa, his girl.
Choa.
I thought they were dating. I don't know. He just stabbed her in the heart. And then, he just looked dumbfounded, and it's uncanny to me. He just looked like a different person in the span of a second. And the Garrent, the Thaw showed up, and they apprehended him. They took him to the Garrent, put him under arrest, and we thought that was the end of it. And then apparently he escaped.
I heard something from Joe that the hedges broke him out.
Well, he always had a bit of a green thumb. I thought he was going to be great to work with. I wouldn't be surprised. But, I knew his mom. Before she died, she loved him so much. He's a good, sweethearted kid, and I can't believe he would ever do something like this. It's crazy to me.
Do you know if there was an investigation?
Well, there was. It seemed open and shut. Nobody. I think that the Garrent Hylas might just be a little bit hard pressed right now. There's a lot going on with the district, with maintenance efforts and bureaucratic nonsense, and I think Joe just wanted to close the book on it.
Well, it does seem simple, but as you said, he seemed like a nice guy, in love. What motive could there possibly be? I guess what I'm asking is, seems like there is room for magical manipulation here, no?
Really? And I will tell you, with your kind of like awareness of everything going on, she seems to be very straightforward with you. This is something, as Basil's kind of aspects that you've taken on, you immediately start looking for different angles, different evidence, all that kind of stuff. And she says, really? I assume it had to be something. I know hedge magic. I know green magic. This is far beyond my ken. This feels like something dark and awful. I don't even know what could force him to do something like that if he was forced. I mean, Joe thinks it's a lover's spat, but
And no one asked him directly? What did Tristan say?
He was shell-shocked. He didn't seem to want to say much of anything.
And Ella, where is she?
She was grieving not too long ago. I couldn't tell you. She lives actually near the center of town. You can ask her yourself.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Do you know her profession, how she spent her time?
Well, Choa was always very gifted with scholarship. She actually used to run a bookstore not far from the outskirts of town. I always assumed Ella just helped her.
Very upsetting, no doubt. So, if I wanted to find Tristan, and you were to help me, how would that work?
I'm not sure what you're asking. Make an interaction roll. Yeah.
Absolutely. As Maurice says, well, Joe said that you were the person to talk to. I'm gonna pump 3 Bennett into this.
Excellent.
6.
All right. So 6 on the die or 6 total?
6 total.
Okay. She appraises you a bit, thinks about it, and you can tell she's like holding back something. At which point she looks at you and says, well, he always loved Tallisbury Park. Maybe you could keep an eye open for him there.
What aren't you saying?
I'm happy to have as many drinks as you're willing to offer, but I don't give up friends for strangers.
I respect that very much.
And if you tell the Garrent I said that, good luck trying to get anybody to maintain these hedges.
I believe you. And your word is safe with me.
All right, well, lunchtime's over. And I think you need to do some legwork there, Gumshoe.
You're very welcome for the meal.
And she, at which point you kind of have this tense moment, and almost as though Garver has been surreptitiously kind of listening in, you see a branch come down with a plate for the check. And she points it towards you. At which point we're going to cut back to the library. So, you guys have found this information, and Basil Victorum is looking at you and saying, I can locate your friend if you'd like.
Basil, we didn't exactly, I don't know how much you heard of this, but we didn't exactly part under the best of terms. I think maybe the best way to do this is not to chase him down, but to entreat him to come to us.
Very well. I can meet those requirements if you wish.
I'd like to take dream study tonight, see if maybe while both of us are asleep, I can incense him to come and have a conversation with me at the very least, about at least what we can do with this information and where we go from here.
Very well. And Twig, do you feel the same, I assume?
He made his choice. Best not to press where you're not wanted.
I imagine I shall do just that. I leave you to it then. Should you need anything or require any of my services, I'll be in my guest quarters not far away from Avelia.
Oh, Basil, if we need to speak to you, how do we contact you? For instance, if we were to leave this place.
Well, normally, I would say that if you wanted to contact me, I'd just know. But in the interest of expedience, he takes from out of his jacket pocket a handkerchief that has it's like a cameo. There is in that there is a very clearly defined profile of him in the corner of the handkerchief, and he gives it to you and he says, simply, if you wish, simply press your thumb and your forefinger over my profile here, and I will understand that it is someone calling me. I don't give out many of these. Many of them I gave in fiction. You are one of a few people who have these, and I'd appreciate it if you do not give this to anyone else.
Very efficient, and I'm honored. Thank you, Basil.
I take my leave, and he turns and begins heading towards the door.
Kyrrie pauses a moment and then walks towards, I don't know, is there like a big tall window with like a window seat or something like that somewhere in the library?
Absolutely. There is, it's facing out into that candle flame wall of fire.
Okay. I think Kyrie's going to go over to that window and just sort of perch, looking out at that candle flame wall and in thought. Her expression kind of unreadable.
Twig, what are you doing?
So Twig is pretty much dried out at this point. And they're just gonna kind of quietly pace over to nearby to Kyrrie and sit down on the ground and start putting their boots back on.
Kyrrie gives Twig a weak smile and says, well, I guess we have to see them. There really doesn't seem to be another move.
I don't see any other options, any other paths.
I don't know if I can confront them. I suppose I asked for this, but I feel like this is the only way to get them to respond. I think I can do it. But it's hard on you too, them leaving.
Twig just nods in response, just kind of, I'm not exactly a closed book, as it were. This sucks. This really sucks.
Yeah, well, that's one way to put it. I usually have a lot of words, but this sucks pretty much sums it up. Is Literalim around?
Yeah, yeah, actually, you would probably know better. Twigg?
I think Literalum has definitely tagged along in true baby duck fashion.
Well, if Literalum is around, I think Kyrrie will reach over and sort of kind of scritch under his chin a little bit, just like, soft little way.
And Literalum just kind of like bristles a little bit with like kind of its page flipping back and forth. And I think that in the center of its chest, where previously it had written its name, there is a lovingly inscribed, as if from a illustrated manuscript, an illustration of a heart.
Aww. He emotes on his pages.
Oh gosh.
Less emotes, more illustrations.
Oh.
Is it a stylized heart, or is it like an anatomical heart?
It's very stylized heart.
Okay.
Amazing.
I'm very tempted to do the Grey's Anatomy thing, but it doesn't feel appropriate here.
So Twigg will also reach out and go. I think just a little bit of intuition. Like, I don't think that I have even fully. I don't know that I fully understand what this creature is that I gave conscience to, but Twigg will reach out and just kind of like stroke a couple fingers down Literalum's spine.
And Literalum, again, kind of like that page flips, but it kind of switches back to the heart illustration. And then suddenly the ink shifts and begins to move. And then it's written on its pages, "A friend in need is a friend indeed."
Look at this one. This is the smart one, huh?
I must say, this creature's fascinating. You did this.
I did some of it. I don't think it was truly alive before I found there's a little bit of intuition and a little bit of magic, and I think I put a little bit of myself into it.
All the best things have a little bit of ourselves in them. That's my experience anyway. It'll be interesting to see if we learn more about him over time.
I don't know whether he can leave.
I wonder how we would find out. Is there a way to ask him does he have a language? Do you know?
And
Seems
Literalum, while you're talking about it or him, is going to toddle over to where he sees your satchel opened, and is going to walk across the table to it and kind of like try to crawl into the satchel. And you notice the glowing kind of effulgence of Yaleska's grimoire coming out of the bag, at which point Literalum stops, turns around, and then begins to walk away. Clearly kind of intimidated.
Twigg will like lean over. I'm basically still like sitting cross-legged on the floor, but I'll lean over and I'll scoop, and then open up like the front left breast pocket of my coat.
At which
little like pocket.
At which point, the front left breast pocket, it folds itself neatly into a pocket square with text all over it.
Amazing.
I imagine this is like cats, like when cats meet. Like sometimes like they get like a little intimidated and standoffish with each other at first, but like eventually.
Oh yeah.
Which then rolled right into if it fits, I sits.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Exactly. So yes, Literalum's just a cat golem book creature.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think this is really lightened Twig's spirits. I mean, it feels like this still fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But Gav and Maurice have done nothing but right by us, and it feels wrong not to. We can't stay here forever. I mean, Technically, I could. I can just keep eating, but...
Well, you know, Twig, I've thought about it. Staying here. I have a place here. I know that I originally just did this for my university, for my institution, but one could have a whole career as the curator of this incredible, almost endless archive. I could really make a difference to the world by organizing it and being its guardian in a way, much as I am the guardian of Zaleska's grimoire. I feel comfort here and in that. And yet, at the same time, something pushes me too. I don't know what to do.
What's comfortable is often easy, and what's easy is rarely the right option, in my experience.
We don't know what else is out there.
But we do know the limits of what's here. You could stay here, and I'm sure you might even find it fulfilling. But that would mean, would you leave the Vance? Would you, like, you have your sister, yeah?
Hey, well, I mean, Allegra, she and I aren't close. I suppose you could say that. I don't know that she would care too much where I was. As long as I was in a gilded cage of some kind. That's where she tends to like to keep me.
Well, fuck
right,
that
though.
noise. Fuck that. Fuck her.
Well,
Like, don't you want to know the answer to what's on the war report? Don't you want to show up this dickhead? And Twig gesticulates wildly to where, like, Basil went. Like, fuck this guy. He's the worst. Like...
Of course I want to know. Of course I want to know the answer. That's what I've always wanted.
Cages are comfortable, but they're not really fun. And, like, why else live?
Twig, I don't think I've ever had fun in my entire life. What is fun?
Oh, it's the good stuff. It's that little pitter patter when you realize that things might go a little bit wrong, and that's totally okay. And it's never too late to start.
To start having fun.
I know I'm talking to a librarian, but despite your poor life choices...
Excuse you. My life choices are mine and mine alone, and I've been quite happy with them so far. Making contributions to the world in what I do. Bodies of knowledge, academies, institutions. I'm highly valued where I am.
How's that working out for you?
Well, it's been a life so far, but it hasn't gotten me the answer to this question.
I mean, there's only one way to find out.
Kyrrie looks at Twig and makes a snap decision as they hold eye contact and says, Twig, you saw that flash of a moment too, didn't you? From the war?
Yeah, I did.
I saw you, and I don't know if you saw me, but we were something to each other. In that memory or that fragment of a moment, I was asking you for guidance. And that's not a thing that I do. I trusted your expertise. I trusted you. Maurice and Gav, they don't understand the power of knowledge. You do. Like me, it fuels you. And as much as I can't abide what you do with it, its consumption, words are a part of you like they are of me. And almost like light blazing white through a hairline crack. Thank you, Twig, for staying.
Absolutely.
And
I'm not
Mhm. Go
kind
ahead.
of shitty at I'm kind of shitty at leaving, to be honest. But you ready to have some fun?
I'm ready to try.
That's a good start.
Hold on, guys. And the cat, you awaken to the sound of drunken singing, Gavriel. Yeah, so actually, just to kind of put a note on that, you guys kind of while away the hours, just kind of, putting your houses in order and preparing for your dream study. And you go off to the guest room, and Kyrrie, do you stay in that same room?
In the library?
In your guest room.
Oh, in the guest room where we were. Yeah, I will.
That painting that was actually a mirror, it is not a mirror any longer. It just seems to be, it is a painting of two sisters, impressionistically painted, holding hands, identical. And you stare at that as kind of up at it from your bed as you drift off to sleep. At which point, we cut back. Gavriel, you awaken from darkness as the last of this kind of feral instinct leaves you. You are sitting across a desk. Not a desk, a table. And you recognize this is the same establishment. This is Cadavers. But there are now hushed whispers surrounding you. And you kind of glance back behind you, and there are people watching with interest your table. And that is when your attention snaps back to the person in front of you. And Marlon is staring at you. Bode, the others, we had to pry you off of Erlosk. You back? My question, Gavriel, for you is, would you kind of have slipped out of your intention, but would you have dropped the enchantment? Would you still look like...
So there's actually a rule for that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if that doesn't happen, so I think I should probably, if I'm reading it correctly, yeah, after each combat encounter, so since the encounter is now over, I have to make a depletion roll of 0 to 2, which I'm assuming if I roll a 0 to 2, it depletes. If not, I can't get rid of it until the next sunrise or set.
All right.
Which for right now would be next sunrise, but we're still at night, so.
All right, give me a roll.
All right. 5. I still look like a monster.
Yeah, you look like a monster, and I
can still talk in this form.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just that blood haze has lifted. Time has passed. You are not sure how much, but somehow, and you notice that there are no restraints on you. There are, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's what she would notice first, knowing that she's still in this were-raptor-y form and is kind of like, oh, okay, respect.
I am going to say that you did incur another injury, as you were probably, people were fighting you off of
Fair
Erlosk.
enough.
So
That's 3 injuries.
You now have 1 wound, which means you now have a scourge. Actually, I think this means you have a vex for your first wound. Okay.
I'll put 1.
So a vex to physicality. So yeah, Marlon is staring at you, and he just says, "There's something about you that's really familiar, but I just wanted to tell you, I really like your style. I think I have a couple of people that I know might be interested in recruitment."
What kind of people?
Oh, just some folks I know out of the hollers. The hollows, pardon me.
Go by the name of Jaren.
Funny thing you should mention that. He's looking for some real animals. You fit the bill. Pays well. Rage coins.
It's a good deal.
And I bet you can find somebody real easy. Got a sniffer or something, I bet. You're more animal, right?
Who are you looking for?
Someone named Twigg.
Catch and kill, or catch and bring in?
Bring in. So, of course... Yeah?
Why?
Why? It's not my job to ask why. I just collect. And he's been absent-mindedly the entire time, just kind of like clicking his fingers below the table. And there's a little candle flame, like a little lighter flame that like starts with each click, like his fingers are tinder. And he's not even aware that he's doing it. And he says, "Look, you're gonna have to have a partner. Somebody we can rely on, that, you don't get the blood mixed up and, go after some guy and rip his throat out. That said, well...
That's not usually what I do."
Could have fooled me.
Well, sometimes you have to make a big show to get a big job.
You're a natural. All right, well, as long as we have that understanding.
Oh, I didn't say I accepted.
Oh.
I don't take jobs until I meet the people that are actually in charge.
I wouldn't want to meet Jaren, that's for sure.
You work for him. Surely you've met him.
Once. He's a real evil-looking customer.
Hear so much about him lately. So many rumors in the undersling. Seems to be where all of the good work is going to.
That is true. He's got a real something for this guy. I feel like he must have cheated him or done something bad, but Jaren doesn't usually get into this kind of a thing. He's all about ideas. Taken for easy pickings. But I got an idle tongue. I use it too much. He might cut it off, so you get the idea.
How did you start working for him?
Well,
in such a high position, you give out his own jobs.
Let's just say we helped each other out. And he advanced a little bit quicker than I did. Remembered me. He helps people what can offer him something. He keeps you in mind. Got a steel trap of a head of his. silver trap, more like it. At which point, one of the thugs, the bodyguards, flanking him, looks very gravely at him, and he kind of.
They're not for your protection, are they?
Don't you worry about them. You're talking to me.
Oh, I'm not worried about them, but it certainly looks like you are.
Well, Jiren's not somebody that takes idle talk lightly. So, let's get down to brass tacks. I'm offering you a job.
You don't even know my name.
I don't need to know your name. I already know what you can do.
Fair enough. Where in the Hollows does Sharon typically reside?
If I knew that.
Sounds like you don't know anything. I'm very disappointed.
Look, somebody's got to be the middleman. Middleman still gets his check.
Well, there's things that I want to. And I was hoping this night would end differently and I would have more information.
Look, I could try to finagle an introduction. He's reticent to meet in person. He's more of kind of a direct from behind the scenes kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm more of a upfront assault.
Yeah, but you notice you seem to know what you're doing, so you realize never the twain should meet typically.
Fair enough. Are you sure you don't want to ask who I am, Marlin?
His face goes dead. Who the hell are you?
And I think Gav smiles, but in this form, it literally just looks like a velociraptor just showing all of the sharp teeth. And the rest of the cockatoo, parrot feathery colored hair and feathers just all kind of array. Well, I did look a bit different the last time we saw each other. But second impressions sometimes can be better than the first ones. So are you really sure that you can't introduce me to this infamous Jaren? Because I'm getting very impatient for answers.
And he... Look, even if you do get through me, even if you did rip my throat out, he'd do worse things, and I'm not exactly gonna sit here and take it.
I don't want to kill you.
And what do you want?
I was hoping that you could arrange some sort of meeting, but here I am disappointed that you can't.
And he puts one and one together. He says, "Here's a meeting I can arrange. Between Twigg and Garrent. Whatever the beef they got, it's personal. You give up your friend, or whatever he is to you. I saw you. You guys did something to me. I don't think I forgot."
That was pretty funny.
No, he wouldn't do that. Sorry. There's just there's a flicker of the flame at his hair. It's beginning to kind of crawl up the locks.
She's just flexing her claws idly as she sees that.
All right. Look. You have Twigg. You guys want to do in a meeting? Meet Jaren? It's your funeral. He doesn't do direct. Last thing that did direct to him, he did direct to it. It's a trophy now. You understand? And I said it.
Fair enough. There are questions that I need answers to.
Yeah? Like what?
Why did you work in the Acclimation Center?
A great recruitment ground.
Not spying?
Well, you could call it that. I worked for Jaren. He knows what I do. Saw an opportunity. Saw a way to keep tabs open for all the people he used to know.
So, you necessarily weren't putting things in people's files?
Oh, you mean yours?
Maybe.
Well, I identified opportunities. Wherever I saw maybe Jaren might want to make a connection, I'd make a note. Seems like you've been there.
I think something very dark flashes across Gab's face as she realizes that the note in the file isn't actually a connection at all. And that was the only thing that she was counting on.
And I think realizing that and kind of like looking at you, seeing that realization, says, look, it's nothing personal. I figure out who's most likely the best killers, thugs, bodyguards, and I point them. Or, as the case may be, cannon fodder. And I point them to my boss.
Well, this night is full of little disappointments, isn't it? I stand up. But you were right about one thing. I am a killer. And I'm going to slash his fucking throat out.
All right. I would like you. Oh my God. All right.
Everyone in a row for me right now. The terrific open mouth is just charming.
I am going.
I think Gab is devastated. I mean, like, I'm not doing this to just fuck around. I think that she was really hoping that the note was in her file because she knew him, and the only reason she did this, the only reason she left everyone, was because she was so desperate to find some reason to care. Somebody out there knows her, and that's not true. And this person put that lie in her file.
All right. I want
Good day, sir.
Okay.
Sounds like murder time to me.
I need you to.
Good day, sir.
I need you to make an attack roll. You are going to need to hit a 7.
Sortilege. I'm angry.
All right. So remember, you start with 3. You're not in your feral state.
I'm not in my feral state, but I'm still got eye of him.
Right, exactly.
Lord. No. Not quite.
You. Oh my God! You don't hit.
Oh, sorry. I needed a 3.
Yeah. No, you needed a 4.
Oh no, I got a 3.
Oh, geez. Okay. All right. You didn't spend a bene or anything.
I didn't.
Okay. I appreciate your honesty. You lunge, and he steps back, at which point he clicks his fingers, and he becomes wreathed in flame. Basically, you remember that like amount of fireball that he was going to he was tossing from one hand to the other. It manifests over his body, and it's basically like a less flame on version of the Human Torch.
Sure.
Yeah, like you can still see his angry features peering out at you. The bodyguards each move reflexively in front of him and begin like reaching for, they don't have any weapons. So basically they're going to try to reach out and start casting spells. What are you doing?
What necessarily could I do here to make it look like the lunge was a scare tactic, basically to save face as a scare tactic rather than an actual one?
I would like, oh boy, I would like you to make an interaction roll as you pretend to take back
This one
the
I will
attack.
put my single Bene interaction into. I have one.
All right, I am going
Oh
to.
no, sir! I just tripped. I promise.
All right, okay, do it.
Alternately, got your nose.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna say that this one it's gonna go up by a rank in difficulty just because you did
Okay,
lunge for
fair
him.
enough.
Yeah, so I need you to just hit a 6.
Okay. 7.
All right, yeah. So you reach out and
So I think I kind of I'm able to see that I'm gonna whiff, and I like stop and I just start doing that low raptor laugh and then retract it and like look at all of like his bodyguards who were like, "Uh-oh, you would have been too slow."
and then at which point Marlon doesn't know some stuff, so he's gonna look at you and he's gonna say, "We don't have weapons, that's true. If you go anyplace else, we're gonna find you. We're gonna find you, we're gonna find your friends, we're gonna find Twig. I'm gonna deliver to him on a fucking platter. You take that
Okay.
back to your friend."
I'm going to walk out of here, and you're not going to find me. And that, I hope, eats you alive. Good luck reporting back to your boss. I hope you have a great time trying. Because if I see you again, it won't be a joke. You're worried about Jaren taking your tongue? I'll rip your face off.
At which point there's a fireball in his hand, just like glowing, kind of floating off an inch off of it. And it says, "I'd like to see you try, you bird." At which point Bode, like again, like you hear a thunk on the bar as a chunk of it falls off, and Bode, the man with the like still holding this, you know, big hog leg on the end of the bar, says, "All right, you out."
I'm already leaving. And I head towards the door and I'd be like, "I'd like my gun back, please."
"I want my fighter back in one piece. You think you can do that?"
You got good healers?
Well,
He did ask for it.
can't argue with that.
But, you know, I do fight for money.
All right. I got a main. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Is getting 86 from a bar is like, yeah, but I do fight for money.
You need your fighter back in one piece? Would you like a different one? I don't have beef with the bar, man. I like this place.
And I think Bode takes a look at you, and there's this, you know, there's this discerning look in his eye, like, "Oh, okay." And he reaches below the counter, pulls out a little pouch, and he throws it at you, not expecting you to. Yeah. And he says, "You're cut. Main event coming up soon. Don't disappoint me."
All right. You need references?
I got
You
my
can
ref.
talk to Oja Calendaris. She knows me.
I got all the references I need. Take your gun and go.
All right. I sling my rifle, which now looks pretty short compared to everything else that I've got going on for me, and like I've cinched the the belt across my shoulders, and I turn back to the booth where Marlon is sitting with his bodyguards, and I just go,
Yeah,
see you around.
Just a wreath of flames until Bode puts a hand on Marlon's shoulders, at which point he says, out. And the fire wreath disappears.
And yeah, if he's is he leaving, or did he just tell him to like put himself out?
Yeah, he just said put yourself out.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think as soon as I'm out of the bar, just the cool attitude that I had going on just completely drops. And it's just fuck.
At which point we cut back. Maurice, you have, I'm assuming, left lunch.
Left lunch, on my way to Tallisbury Park. And I'm going to say at this point, the basil magic is beginning to wear off.
Yeah, absolutely.
But will you count that lunch as a rest?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I will refresh my sorcery pool.
Excellent. All right, so you are at the entrance of this park, and you can tell that there's this kind of like wrought iron gate. It's done very much in kind of like an Art Nouveau style. Let me change the music here. It's this kind of Art Nouveau style, and there is an overgrown kind of wrought iron gate with Mucha-esque typography that says Tallisbury Park. It's very overgrown to the point that it is covering the RRY and the T of Tallisbury Park. You are at the entrance. There is a path leading in that you were kind of pointed in the direction of by Sarai. What do you do?
I walk in, and as I walk in, I'm going to refresh the basil magic and add 3, so doing the learn from tales forte.
Okay.
And gaining 3 bene my perception pool.
Absolutely. Yeah, so again, that awareness where you were kind of like feeling tired and like a little bit lethargic before, you recast the spell, and again, you feel that like invigoration, that sense of hyper observation, and it's a lot like more than you think your nerves can handle, but you somehow rise to the occasion. Just like it's draining being him. You feel it more acutely when it wears off, but it's kind of back to normal. So you feel the detective's perceptions wash over you. What are you looking for as you enter?
I'm looking for anywhere where the greenery would be considered to be like overactive, something that looks less than pruned.
Yeah, I'd say make me a perception roll. I am gonna go ahead and say your challenge is gonna be an 8, just because I mean this is a very overgrown. It's like basically always being maintained, so it's kind of like looking for the difference between overgrown and really overgrown.
Got it. Okay, I'll spend 2.
Okay.
6 total.
Okay. So with a 6, you kind of get kind of like a mixed success. I think that you kind of get a little bit turned around, and it actually costs you time, because your hyper observation is serving you, but a lot of these hedges, they are like basically meant to be really well pruned, and like sometimes you think, oh well, I can follow the ones that are more maintained, and then they will be slightly more overgrown than when last you left. But you do get a sense that it's basically this large hedge maze that's at the center of the park is really kind of overgrown, because you can see like parts of it, and there's like a couple of natural fixtures. There's a lake. There is also kind of several very ornate stone sculptures that have been kind of overtaken, probably back when this area was in the Zephyr. And there is also Not only that, but there is all these topiary sculptures, and that's kind of what gives you the saving grace here, is you are able to use the topiary sculptures as landmarks. And the more overgrown part of the park just for you is the hedge maze that's at the center of it.
So as I make my way towards the hedge maze, I want to check and see if it looks like any of these topiary sculptures have uprooted ever or recently.
Oh, give me a perception roll.
I will also I'll just spend one here.
And I'm gonna say
Crit
that one.
fail.
Crit fail. Okay. All right. So because we haven't done this in a while, I am going to pull another card. And we'll see how this goes. Ooh. This one's a good one. The Raven, the companion of, let's see, Secrets, Ravens, Books, and Flame. Companion to the Secrets family, the Raven sees everything and tells nothing. The Raven is smarter and wiser than it ever lets on. Its intelligence, however, manifests in its crafty solutions to problems. Some might use the word cheating, in fact. The Raven's weakness is greed and jealousy. It wants what you have, and that probably means your secrets. Can you keep them from its watchful eyes? Is it even worth trying? All right. Okay. I like this a lot. So, yeah. So basically, now remind me, what course of action are you trying to take here?
I was trying to see if any of these topiary sculptures had uprooted and moved around and are trying to pretend like they are not anymore.
Yeah. So on a crit fail, you are
+1.
+1. But I'm going to give you a point of despair. As you are looking, and you have very clearly found one of these topiary sculptures that has uprooted and began moving, kind of like it, you can tell it's been uprooted recently. But the one thing I have to ask you, Maurice, where do you keep your valuables?
In this messenger bag that I just crafted as I left Oleander's shop.
Okay. And about how many crystal orbs do you have?
Let's find out.
I think it was like 17.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So you, at that point, you're looking at the sculpture and it's uncanny. You feel like this sense of being watched after like your focus kind of fades away from your hyper observation, because again, it's that exhaustion taking its toll on you. And you notice that that wind crafted bag that you made has a hole in it. And you, I will say, are missing 10 crystal orbs. And you feel the sense that you are being watched. What do you do?
Maurice will check the bag for his pipe and tobacco. Is that still there?
I think let me see. How mean do I want to be here? I think your pipe and your tobacco are still there. There is one thing that you do notice, though, is in the hole, there is a small dead spider in your bag. Like right where I think you kind of reflexively like draw your hand back as you kind of recognize it, and the spider is just in the interior of your bag, right where your crystal orbs were dead.
So Maurice furrows his brow at this. Can't be good. He will kind of reflexively and nervously, to soothe himself, pack a pipe and light it as he looks around. And presuming I'm not making a perception roll to look, I'll make a perception roll to look for people.
Okay.
Who's watching me?
All right. Let's go ahead and make this. I'd say this is a 7. Are you spending Benny?
I am not, and I rolled an 8 on the die.
All right. You see like a man in a top hat. Like this kind of like smokestack hat, very thin and very gaunt. And you kind of see, you basically see this top of this top hat and a watchful set of leery eyes looking at you. And the fingers kind of like around one corner of a hedge, not far from where you are in the maze. And he finally recognizes that you just saw him and then jumps back behind the hedge.
And Maurice kind of takes a puff and says, Tristan, I'm here to help.
At which point, the fellow with the stovepipe hat puts out his head and says, "Oi, who the hell's Tristan? I'm Jack." And that's where we're going to leave it tonight.
Did you just... Oh. Zach, you dirty whore.
Yeah. So guys, we are running. No, we're actually running a little bit on time. So guys, we're going to take our last 5-10 minutes here. We're going to talk about how everybody's characters felt during the session. Let's go ahead and start with Gavriel.
What a good day. No, that's not true at all. I think it started off on some pretty high highs and then immediately went into some very low lows. She was counting on that interaction going very differently. And that was a huge disappointment to find out that the only connection in her file is not a connection at all, but a memo to be a contact and potentially a hired hand. Mm-hmm. That's deeply depressing. I'm actually unclear myself where I'm going to pick her up as, how she's going to be behaving the next time we see her.
Yeah. So should we call this despair?
Absolutely.
Knock down 1 point of despair, and
okay, that's not my pen.
Would you say that you made any progress on your character arc?
The current character arc that I'm on is to right a wrong, mm-hmm. and uncover. Let me find the specific wording because it's so much better. Mm-hmm. But I'd say that I've definitely learned that what I thought I was doing is actually not going to help my character arc at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So add 1 acumen and then get an additional 1 acumen for following up on a lead and another acumen for basically kind of like a false start and a recalibration.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, Maurice. How are you feeling about the session?
Maurice, I think I expected it to go better than it did, but I think he's really thrilled with this like alternate life he's living. the ability to actually step out from behind the typewriter and try out what it would be to be somebody else. And I think he's taking the failures minus the crit fail in stride, mostly going, well, okay, you're new at this. Didn't go how you thought, but that's okay. And feeling optimistic that he has a chance to help Tristan and thereby help Ashwin.
Yeah, excellent. So take a joy and also take 1 acumen for following up on your lead. Would you say that you made any progress towards your character arc?
So the character arc, is investigating the thing. So there's pledging to solve the case. I think I accomplished the research step and I'm in the middle of the investigation step.
Yeah, go ahead and give yourself another point of acumen for that as well.
Okay.
Okay, Kyrrie, how'd you feel about today's session?
Kyrrie's gonna learn about fun. She is in a very interesting place in that she has been encouraged to kind of take a risk when the easiest path would have been to stay the course, and stay around the things she knows rather than venturing into areas that are far outside what she considers to be her areas of expertise. I think, emotion doesn't come particularly naturally to her as a stoic. So the fact that I think she was able to grow somewhat closer to Twigg through their encounter is definitely a point of joy. And I think, she's starting to feel like the trust that she remembers or analyzed out of that fragment of the memory from the war is now not just something that she sees in that scene, but is starting to actually build with Twigg now.
Awesome. Yeah.
So definitely a point of joy.
Yeah, take a point of joy. Take 1 acumen for making the additional discovery of the conceptual spirit. And then would you say you worked on your character arc at all?
Well, my character arc is to protect Zaleska's grimoire effectively. It's like a protect and defend sort of arc. So there's been no sort of notable progress since the last time, except for the fact that I've defended it successfully here to date.
Yeah. So I think let's just give you 1 acumen for that discovery about the spell, and then we'll see if you make more progress. Twigg, how'd you feel about today's session? Oh no.
I'm just having unmuting issues.
No worries.
Windows 10 sucks. It keeps like popping up the thing, so I can't unmute myself. Twigg went into this not feeling good at all, and has come out of this library. I think like the library between the experiences with kind of like giving life to Literarum, and then despite like the amount of emotional distress of Gav and Maurice kind of departing in this less than friendly, not less than friendly, that's not the word I'm looking for, in this kind of contentious way, which was like pretty devastating when your entire social base knowledge and life experience in a new world is a few people. Like that's pretty fucking traumatic. And then that was kind of alleviated, and then there was kind of this sense of stability that was reaffirmed by like this kind of mutual pep talk, like this kind of double-edged pep talk with Kyrrie. I think that like it kind of reminded them of what is good in life. Cause trouble, get shenanigans. That's what's good in life.
And hear the lamentation of the women.
yeah, exactly. And hear the lamentations of the people that I've annoyed. Like, dismantling systematic structures of oppression and authority. But that too. But
1 step at a time. Yeah.
1 step at a time.
Baby steps. We're gonna start with fun.
Yeah, we'll start with fun. We're gonna turn you into an apostate yet.
Fighting words.
So overall, good. Actually, really good. I think that new knowledge was acquired, a new friend was made, a very old friendship has kind of been reaffirmed in a way that I think that also allowed Twigg to be like a supportive and a healing person, which is kind of a lot of who they are, or who they believe they are at their core.
Nice.
Character arcs are a little bit funky. My first character arc is mysterious past. Who the fuck am I? And my second character arc is to building a new home. And this feels like kind of a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B, but not really one or the other.
It's fair. So give yourself 1 point of joy for basically kind of finding a little bit of centering yourself, let's say. And then get a point of acumen for, pep talking Kyrrie up and helping her make a discovery and giving her an asset in the form of Literarum. So I think that with that, we're going to conclude tonight. Does anybody have any plugs or anything they want to mention before we end?
Everybody stay safe and healthy.
Yes.
Please.
Please stay safe and healthy. Everybody be, responsible, social distancing.
Twitch is the best place to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
I was,
sure.
I was, I was gonna say, for those who are kind of trapped indoors, and doing the responsible thing in their civic duty, we're gonna be here in another 2 weeks to help you out and give you a little bit of an escape. But in the meantime, just everybody, be safe, be healthy, be well, take care of the people you love, let them take care of you, and may the invisible sun shine on you all. Good night.
Good night.